All right, good evening, everyone. We are reconvening from closed session, and there are no disclosures to state, so I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:04 p.m. And at this time, I will call to order the Elk Grove City Council regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, March the 9th, 2022. It is 6:04 p.m., and it is great to be back in person. Welcome, everyone. Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, March 11th at 9:30 p.m. and Tuesday, March 15th at 9 a.m. It is being closed caption will be webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the participating audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting or when you are not speaking. And I'm just going to be checking a little bit of some of our sound levels here. Just making sure. I might just be distant from my microphone. But I will carry on. Although a state of emergency remains in effect, this meeting is being held in the City Council chamber. The chamber will be open to the public, and thank you for our attendees who are here this evening. The State of California Department of Public Health strongly recommends that non-vaccinated participants wear a face covering. Members of the public may also choose to attend this meeting via the Zoom environment. And I would like to say hello to all of our friends in the Zoom environment. We have a few participants that are logged on. While you're in the Zoom meeting platform, it'll allow participation either via the internet using a computer or internet-capable mobile device, or via telephone using a landline mobile phone. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2010-24, no individual speaker concerning public comment may address the City Council for more than 3 minutes. In the Zoom environment, a speaker timer will be displayed counting down the 3-minute time. For callers connecting direct via telephone, they can utilize the raise hand feature by pressing *9 on their phone, and the city clerk will run a speaker timer, and after those first 2 minutes pass for our call-in callers, a single bell ding or 2 bells will ding to let you know that 1 minute remains in order to summarize comments. When the total 3-minute time concludes, a series of bells will sound. Oh, on Zoom. That I might need some assistance from our friends for making the connection, but we'll continue. Thank you for that, City Manager. So it sounds like our Zoom participants are having some difficulty hearing us, and I think I might know the reason why. I think it's either the podium mic or it's just this. Let's everyone be ready if we get a little bit of feedback, but I think this is the step. Hopefully for our viewers that are on Zoom, and if we have some staff, if they can send us some confirmations whether you're hearing us on the Zoom environment in the chamber. So as we are running a Zoom environment, that means that we do have some participants from the public and some staff members, but they are going to be in the Zoom environment. And you'll hear me walking through some of the process. So even though we're back here in the chamber, meeting face-to-face, we do have some remote participants that are still going on. Some of our practices will continue, such as our roll calls, which will be done verbally. But when we get down to items that are votes, that roll call vote will not be required this evening, as we're already going to be seeing with the roll call that we have full attendance of our council. With that, I'm going to be moving to our roll call, and I'll be starting the roll call with Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Spies.
Present.
Councilmember Hume.
Here.
Vice Mayor Suen.
Here.
And Mayor Singh Allen.
Here.
We have all in attendance. That'll take us next to the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, my I spy here. Ms. Kathy Lee, would you please kindly lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and at this time we'll observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Next item, please.
That'll take us to section 2, the approval of the agenda. And I would like to note one item unique to any meeting with a public hearing discussion on redistricting. Those redistricting related public hearings have a set posted time for when the discussion commences. Item 8.2 is a public hearing with a stated start time of 7 p.m. and may advance or fall back in the order of the agenda. And just a note to the council, the items, if we are in the midst of an item and we know that it's going to conclude, we can conclude that item. And then as long as close to that 7 o'clock hour that we start up the item on redistricting. But I just want to make that note for the approval of the agenda tonight.
Very good. Thank you for that. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
All those in favor?
And we can go to,
Oh, we don't, are we
everyone
doing
can
roll
say
call or
all
not?
ayes. We can continue with the teleconference, but we have all the
Let's just
council
do,
here.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I didn't hear any noes or abstentions, so motion passes.
And that'll pass 5-0. We have an agenda before us.
All right, next item.
For this evening, there are no closed session items on the agenda, and we do not have any presentations or announcements under Section 4. That is going to advance us to Section 5, General Public Comment. And part of it, we might just need to check the comms a little bit, but for our attendees that are participating in the audience, if you're here for general public comment, please coordinate with Assistant City Clerk Brenda Haggard. She can get you pulled into the speaker queue. What we will do is receive our speakers that are here for general public comment here in the chamber first, and then we'll look over to see who our participants are in the Zoom environment. If they're using the raised hand feature to speak during general public comment, now would be that time. But we'll be taking all of our folks here in the chamber first. But as I'm looking over our listings, I do not see that we have anyone that's an attendee in the audience that's signed up for general public comment tonight.
All right, we will go ahead and close the public comment and move on to our next item, which is the city manager's report.
And before we go too fast, Mayor, I do just want to take a pause to check with the general public comment for our folks in the Zoom environment.
Please.
And let me just see what our staff is responding back with here. So from our staff perspective, we've got the podium mic is on. And I have to switch computers because I have so many computers going. And right now it's unmuted through Zoom. And we're not getting an audio feed through Zoom. Let me see if it's something that needs to be pushed through. And maybe that's what the final step is.
So we do have a public comment coming through Zoom?
What we're doing is we're just troubleshooting to make sure that
Okay.
this feed, I think, needs to come through the chamber. And I have staff that are responding back to me right now in a remote environment. So hopefully they're able to hear. And for any of our folks that are in the Zoom environment, the mics on the podium are on. I'm just responding back to staff to try to get this coordinated. And our staff are still not able to hear. Our folks aren't able to hear from on the side for the chamber. And I don't want to hit that. That's not going to be the right one.
Hi, everyone. I just want to let you know that we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with the sound. The item that we are on right now is public comment, general public comment. If you'd like to speak on that, please raise your hand.
That would be our staff. They're checking with the folks that are in the Zoom environment. I'm just trying to see if this is a feed issue. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we're working through this. So we do have a hand raised, and we'll see if we can pull that into the environment here. And I think the only question for our IT folks, if you can put me as a co-host, then I can share screen with that speaker timer.
Will we see the timer here? Will you?
Yeah, we'll
Start
have it
this one?
going
All right.
in unison, so.
Okay. This is the fun part of the hybrid model.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see if I can do it this way.
Jason, is the issue they can't hear us still, or
They
connecting
can't
them
hear
here?
us, and so
Okay.
what it's creating, but I think our team, and now it's not finding the wonderful files that I want to. Here we go. All right, and let's see, staff, if we can patch through our speaker into the Zoom environment. And one more touching base with staff, are we able to pull in a speaker into the speaker environment? If it's Ms. Twyla Laster, I think it's muted on your side. You just need to unmute on your side. And right now, staff, we're not hearing anyone patching through the Zoom environment. And what we may do is just push our general public comment back at this point until we can troubleshoot this, staff.
I'm okay with moving that after the next item, and depending on how many we have, we can do
Yeah,
it
let's
either
see if-
before or after the districting.
Yeah, let's see if our
Discussion.
staff, and maybe staff, what I'd ask is we do have some staff members that are online, and maybe we can troubleshoot, and if they chime in and just say test, test, that's okay while we're going on with the meeting. But if we can try to test and get it back so that we can actually hear someone from an external source. So,
All right, very good. Then we are going to go move on to item number 6, the city manager's report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. It's good to be back in person. Jason Barron, the City Manager. First, I want to recognize our outgoing Police Chief, Tim Albright. This will be his last City Council meeting. His last official action will take place in a couple weeks when he swears in our new Police Chief, Bobby Davis. Chief Albright has devoted more than 32 years of public service in the greater Sacramento region. His career has included 17 years of service to the city of Elk Grove and positions with University of California Medical Center, Placer County, and the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office. Under Chief Albright's leadership, the Elk Grove Police Department doubled the size of its mobile crisis support and homeless outreach teams, expanded the use of technologies like body-worn and in-vehicle cameras, the UAS drone program, and the Real-Time Information Center to enhance intelligence, transparency, and communications, formed new partnerships and foster relationships with community and faith-based organizations, and created a community engagement unit to better connect with the community. Please join me in thanking Chief Albright and for his service, and wish him well in his retirement. A few other matters to report on this evening. Mayor's Volunteer Awards are coming up. This Friday is the last day to nominate community members for the 22 Mayor's Volunteer Awards. Nominations will be accepted in several categories and can be submitted online on the city's website. Awards will be presented to the winners at a council meeting in April. An article in some of Elk Grove's An article on some of Elk Grove's hardworking women appeared in the ASCE magazine, an industry publication for engineering professionals, just in time to commemorate Women in Construction Week, March 6th through the 12th. This feature highlighted the women behind the Old Town Plaza on Railroad Street improvements completed last summer. To read the full article, visit asce.org. There's actually a new little documentary video, about 30 minutes, that staff recently completed that we're going to be making available to the public about the women's involvement in that project. So we're really proud of them and the efforts that just completed that amazing project in our old town. New traffic signals are now active on Grant Line Road, at Mosher Road and Bradshaw Road, and all 4 lanes of roadway are now in use. Other upgrades on this stretch include a new median, a multi-use trail, and sound walls. The project was funded by the city's roadway fee program, developer in lieu fees, and SB1 funds. The Animal Services team will be hosting a drive-through vaccine clinic this Saturday, March 12th, from 9 to noon. The event will offer free rabies and distemper vaccines and microchips for pets of Elk Grove residents. Staff expects to vaccinate up to 200 pets at this event. Mayor Singh Allen will deliver the annual State of the City address on Friday, March 25th at the Chamber of Commerce's luncheon event at District 56. Tickets to attend the event are available at elkgroveca.com. The speech will also be broadcast live and recorded for replay from the city's website at elkgrovecity.org/state of the city. Just a final reminder, the second round application period for the 2021 Elk Grove COVID-19 Business Recovery Grant Program closes next Tuesday, March 15th. Eligible businesses include home-based and small businesses, among other target industries. Grant amounts will range from $500 to $15,000, depending on business type. Details are available on the city's website, elkgrovecity.org/COVIDBiz. And finally, a reminder about the zoo project. Staff from the city, Sacramento Zoological Society, and national professionals and associated with some of the country's largest, most successful zoo projects will show details of the draft feasibility study and the potential economic and community impacts of a zoo in Elk Grove during a virtual town hall meeting tomorrow, March 10th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. The community can register to attend the event at elkgrovecity.org/zoo. A recording of the meeting and the meeting materials will be posted on the zoo project webpage following the meeting. Staff is also preparing to present this item to the City Council during the March 23rd council meeting for additional comment and feedback from the public. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Thank you, Mr. Bierman, for that excellent report. Any questions from my colleagues? Yes, Mr. Soon, Vice Mayor Soon.
Thank you, Mayor. Not a question, but a couple quick comments. First of all, I just want to congratulate our Public Works team and our women-led team that got the award. I just want to acknowledge that, and especially recent passing of International Women's Day. And then secondly, because I know our council comments are at the end, just to ensure that the public, hears, I just want to acknowledge Chief Albright and his service, especially these past 2 years, Chief Albright, given the conditions of the pandemic where you've led our force and through some challenging times, most recently, of course, with the death of Officer Ty Lenahan. And I think on behalf of all of us, we just want to thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other colleagues? All right, thank you, Mr. Bierman, for that report. I will save my comments regarding our esteemed chief for the end. Thank you. All right, next up, we have our consent calendar items.
Mayor, if you would indulge a city clerk.
Yes, please, I
is
indulge.
that our folks have had an opportunity to troubleshoot, and we believe we could bring our public commenters that are in the Zoom environment, bring them into the chamber.
Excellent.
If you would,
Let's
if you'd
patch
so
them
wish.
through.
All right. So I'll be pulling up that speaker timer, and let's see how we do.
Also known as the Soul Project. I am returning to speak with you regarding the pending tobacco retail license moratorium that it temporarily halted new permits, licenses, or entitlements for any new smoking lounges, shops, or retailers in the city of Elk Grove. It's going to expire next week on the 12th. And research has shown that when there are more tobacco retailers, there are a larger number of places where tobacco and new emerging smoking products can be purchased, which increases youth and young adult smoking rates and leads to higher rates of smoking-related illnesses and deaths because smoking is still a major cause of death. Comprehensive policies which update the definition of smoking or tobacco product to include the burning or heating of plant, natural, synthetic products, and electronic smoking devices for existing smoke-free outdoor policies and restricting the sale of flavored products can reduce these health disparities associated with secondhand smoke. And although the council had decided to wait until the referendum to revisit the comprehensive tobacco control ordinance options surrounding cities, Sacramento, West Sac, Davis, Woodland, and most recently, the county of Sacramento have all adopted flavor restrictions. Rancho Cordova, Winters, and Yolo County are also considering these type of ordinances to join over 100 jurisdictions in protecting the health and well-being of their residents now. So this would leave your city open for an influx of retailer applications, which may eventually lead towards health outcomes. The state of California has a goal to end all commercial sales by 2035. This type of policy is the first step towards an endgame approach. So I thank you again for your thoughtful consideration of the overall health and well-being for Elk Grove residents, and our staff is available to meet with you to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comment. Are there any other callers?
And I believe we do have another caller who will be getting patched through by staff.
Carol Magruder, you may go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Carol Magruder, and I am one of the co-chairs of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council. And our goal, our mission is to save the 45,000 Black folks who die every year in our country from tobacco-induced diseases because of smoking. And we're calling to express our strong support for the passage of a comprehensive policy to end the sale of menthol and all flavored tobacco products in Elk Grove without exemption. We would like to, first of all, commend you on what you've already done and encourage you to keep going and to make it permanent. The tobacco industry has preyed on African American youth through the marketing of menthol cigarettes and has profited from the addiction, disease, and death that it causes. Our most recent study out, which came out in 2021, documents that though African Americans are only 12% of the total U.S. population, we account for 41% of menthol smoking-related premature deaths and 50% of the life years lost. From the years of 1980 to 2018, there have been 1.5 million new African-American smokers, 157,000 smoking-related premature deaths among Black people, and 1.5 million life years lost. And so we know that any delay means that there will be more young people, more children addicted to these products and fight a lifelong addiction. We encourage you to join the other cities and counties and states and to get these products out of your community. Please do not wait for the FDA. Do not wait for the referendum for our state law, but act as local jurisdictions do to protect their youth and their community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other callers?
And I do not see any other raised hand features being used in the Zoom environment for general public comment.
All right, then I will go ahead and officially close the public comment opportunity, and we are moving on to our consent calendar items. So I will go ahead and open up the public comment opportunity.
And again, for any of our viewers that are in the Zoom environment, this would be the opportunity to comment on the consent calendar. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, there were no prior written comments related to the consent calendar items, and we would be fielding any of our speakers in the audience, but we do not have anyone signed up on the consent calendar items. I do not see the raised hand feature being used in the Zoom environment. That'll conclude public comment in our hybrid environment.
Thank you. I'll close the public comment opportunity and look for a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. With that, we will move on to our next item.
That'll take us to section 8, our public hearings, starting with item 8.1, which is a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending Elk Grove Municipal Code, section 8.01.020, definitions, chapter 8.02, custody, care, and control of animals, various sections related to firearms being defined, and the description of land use classifications, and various sections of the zoning code for allowed uses and required entitlements.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'm glad the title was exceptionally long to give me time to get the screen set up. Okay, the screen should be shared there. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Shane Diller, the Assistant Director of Development Services. The item before you this evening is primarily a code cleanup item to address inconsistencies that staff has found as we review the code on occasion, to reconcile those inconsistencies, usually consistent with prior council direction or best practice. Specifically this evening, we're talking about Title 8, which regulates animals, and Title 9, or Chapter 9.08, which regulates firearms, and specifically just the definition is in question this evening. And our zoning code, Title 23, as it relates to animal regulations. These changes are driven again because we've identified inconsistencies in the code that need reconciliation. We found inconsistencies in language that were not caught with when we had prior council direction on some of these items. And a couple of the items are simply sort of outdated due to current best practice and need to be addressed. I'll get into the specifics of each of those. This item did receive hearing before the Planning Commission on February 3rd. There's one point to note regarding the Planning Commission item. The original agendized item, the package as presented, included two items in the Title 27, the Chapter 27 amendment that staff decided not to recommend when we got to the Planning Commission. After the item was published, we received feedback from the public and realized that two of the items specific to adding restrictions related to the number of roosters in the ag or ag-res area and related to the number of livestock in the ag and ag-res area were not really cleanup items. They were new items, not consistent with the philosophy of the rest of the item, and they would need additional public vetting if in fact staff determined that they needed to be brought back at a later time. The Planning Commission voted 3-1 with Commissioner Robles being absent and Chairperson Murphy voting opposed to recommend the item. Chairperson Murphy's objection was primarily driven around the fact that he thought the item needed more public outreach, and specific to the items we pulled in addition to the others, he thought it should be something that was vetted more publicly. Specific to the amendments before you this evening, the Title 8 amendments are looking to redefine what we call exotic animals in the Animals Code. Right now, the class of bird known as aves, which is ostriches, emus, similar large birds, are currently classified as wild animals, meaning that they could not be kept anywhere in the city. And those birds are more and more being used as a type of livestock or a type of agriculture. And we actually have one ostrich farm in the east side of the city that operates currently, if we didn't change the code, would need to be the result of an enforcement action to correct that. And staff's position is that because this type of activity is consistent now with farming and with ranching, it makes sense to amend the code in support of that operation continuing rather than eliminating it. We're also cleaning up the household pets definition. In 2017, the council considered and gave direction to include pot-bellied pigs and pygmy goats as household pets similar to dogs and cats. And the zoning code was amended in regards to that, but the definition of household pets was not expanded beyond dogs and cats. So we're doing that this evening. We're revising the language in Chapter 802 to also tie that change for the pygmy goats and the pot-bellied pigs to the keeping restrictions that we have for dogs and cats. So currently, the code doesn't allow more than 4 of any collection of those animals. And we didn't want to leave a loophole where somebody could have an indeterminate amount of the pot-bellied pigs or pygmy goats while being restricted with the dogs and the cats. So in working with animal control on the language, we landed on an amendment there to make sure that it's all consistent with the definition. Regarding the firearms definition change, what we're looking to do is to strike the term air gun from the definition of firearm. They're defined differently in state law. Air guns are typically, as you think of, as your BB guns, your pellet guns, your airsoft guns, that type of item. And we already have laws that govern their safe use and their appropriate use on property in the city, and completely banning them through the language we have in the firearm prohibitions didn't seem to make sense to the police department or to development services. So we're making an amendment there. Where this falls into the animals realm is that the issue of air guns, specifically in the rural area, are often used to dispatch nuisance rodents or to dissuade predator animals from harming livestock and that sort of thing. And so rather than the people that need that to go to the police department and to obtain a special permit each time they'd need to do that, we feel like this definition cleans up a process issue there that would provide for better flexibility. Into the zoning code, much of this is driven by the previous amendments we've talked about. We want to make sure that the zoning code language reconciles to the sole definitions in Title VIII. So instead of running into this again someday, rather than the zoning code having its own definitions of these things, the zoning code now will just reference the Title VIII definitions. So we'll have a single definition we point to. So we're cleaning that up. We're also cleaning up the definition of animal husbandry. The current definition has the word beekeeping in it as items that could be considered animal husbandry. And that has led to the belief that, or the interpretation that beekeeping is not allowed in our residential areas. And the city did extensive public outreach work and code amendment work in 2008, 2009 to take a best practices approach to beekeeping rather than a strict zoning approach. And the previous council direction was to adopt keeping standards that we now have in Title 14 and Title 16 regarding providing water, adequate water, various keeping standards, and allowing a better partnership with the Ag Commissioner's office should we end up with a dispute of some kind where a beekeeper could be causing a nuisance, to address that in a more scientific way. And so this definitional change here will make sure that beekeeping is now a standalone definition in the code rather than something that's grouped in with animal husbandry, where the other animal husbandry items are not something that are consistent with what we want to see in the RD zones, the residential areas. Last here, we have an amendment to, and it's again cleanup to our outdoor commercial recreation classification, so that we're very clear that none of the exotic restrictions or anything we have and have been dealing with in Title VIII would prohibit animals of an exotic nature or a wild nature being kept in any zoo or aquarium that the city may see built in the future, possibly, potentially, you never know. And so I think I get to be the first staff member in an item to say the word zoo, but anyway, no, did CJ beat me to that? All right, that's fine. So we're cleaning that item up just to make sure that we are consistent. We don't want to end up tripping over ourselves regulatorily later. That's a word. So the last section here we are amending is Chapter 2327. Again, driving back to some of the other changes, we're making sure that the land use table is consistent with how we've defined exotic versus wild animals and those types of animals. And we've added footnotes to make sure that the keeping of the emus and ostriches, that sort of thing, are done in the ag-res area and not a residential item. Exotic animals would still be prohibited in the residential area. And we're making sure that we clearly state that in the land use table. We're also adding the specific land use of beekeeping to show that it is permitted across all zones and that we have the other regulations in the code to address issues that may come up with beekeeping. And then we're amending footnotes related to the fencing requirements related to livestock, so that it's very clear, where the language, when we looked at it, we didn't feel was terribly clear, that livestock restrictions are, and the setbacks you have to keep livestock from, are related to neighboring properties, not to the livestock keeper's property. Currently, a strict read of the code might lead someone to believe that we're telling the rancher or the livestock keeper themselves, you know, where on their property they can have it in relation to their residential building. And that's not our intent. Our intent is to make sure that neighboring residential buildings are not negatively impacted. And so the language helps clarify that that is something that refers to the other properties and not the keeper's property itself. So in summary, we've got the definitions in chapters 801 and in 802 that we're changing in addition to the keeping restrictions there, that firearms definition with the air guns, and then the various cleanup items in 2326 and 2327, the land use table, to make sure we're consistent with all of those things we've talked about. Staff's recommending that council approve the ordinance as we've presented it this evening. And with that, I'm available for questions. I'd also like to thank Sarah Humley, the Animal Services Manager, who is watching and monitoring the meeting in the Zoom environment and is available for questions as well if we need to bring her online. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your report, Mr. Diller. At this time, I will declare that the public hearing is now open and open the public comment opportunity.
And I'd ask Mr. Diller if you could just close out your presentation on the screen.
Unless we're getting
Part of the
something.
reason is that as we continue in our hybrid environment in which we are providing an opportunity for speakers to connect to us via Zoom, now would be that opportunity for any of our Zoom environment folks to sign up for item 8.1 by using the raised hand feature. Of course, we would take our speakers from the public here in the audience first. Mayor, if you would like, you may call them up. You should see on your display screen for item 8.1 a series of callers or the speakers that would like to come up. And it would be Mr. Donald Ruddick, just to put you on stage, Mr. Ruddick. But Mayor, if you feel free, if you'd like to call them up, you can call
Yes,
them up.
please, we'll
direct.
start with Mr. Ruddick. And thank you, Mr. Spees, for showing me this, navigating this other technology here.
Here all night.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen on the council, as a member of the Sacramento Area Beekeepers Association, I'm in support of the amendments to allow beekeeping within the city of Elk Grove. I feel it's been beneficial to the city by allowing any resident to follow best bee practices to assist the bee population. As we know, bee populations around the world have suffered from colony collapse disorder. Urban beekeeping, or as I like to say, backyard beekeeping, is important because it contributes to the efforts to increase bee populations. I wasn't prepared to read all of this. Contrary to what one might expect, bees survive better in the urban environments, produce more honey, and are typically healthier than their rural bee counterparts. Backyard beekeeping allows for better pollination of those residential flowers, plants, and trees within about a 3-mile area of the backyard colony. Among the million or so beekeepers scattered around the world, the largest of them are amateur beekeepers such as myself. I don't want this hobby to die and any bees along with it. I'd like to wrap this up by saying the amended sections allow for the municipal code to fall in line with past practices as allowed by the city and this council. The city has been a strong supporter of backyard beekeeping, and the amended changes should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Debbie Gable. And you have 3 minutes as well.
Hello, my name is Debbie Gable. I've lived in Elk Grove since 1989, and I'm a member of the Sacramento Area Beekeeper Association, a California Master Beekeeper at the apprentice level. I've seen Elk Grove grow over the past 33 years. In fact, when I first moved to Elk Grove, we were told that we'd never develop south of Elk Grove Boulevard. Well, a lot has changed, and mostly for the better. I've been keeping bees for over 12 years with 1 to 2 colonies in my backyard. I take classes to improve my knowledge and skill with beekeeping, and I'm also involved in organizations. I volunteer my time to educate others about the importance of honeybees and beekeeping. In fact, Dawn and I, we both volunteer at the historic Nicholas Beekeeping Dairy, and that's at the Sacramento Area Sewer District. They offer tours to school-age kids, and they learn about agriculture. We maintain 2 colonies at the area, and they talk about pollinators and the importance of them. There have been many successful and beneficial urban beekeeping ordinances in similar cities such as Sacramento, Portland, Santa Ana, and Huntington Beach that shows that residents desire to have the ability to have this hobby at their homes. It's important to have pollinators such as honeybees to pollinate our gardens and to improve the floral aesthetics of our area. Having an ordinance also helps beekeepers knowing that what they should and should not do and sets expectations for everyone. It's better to allow it and to have rules that can be modified and updated as needed. I'm in favor of having an ordinance in our great city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. We will now transition to the Zoom environment.
And this is that opportunity for our Zoom participants to provide public comments on item 8.1. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council Member, there was one written comment, but it was from Mr. Ruddick, and that he provided earlier a written comment, but I believe he also provided his comments here tonight. And as I look over in the Zoom audience, I do not see the raised hand feature being utilized. That will conclude public comment on item 8.1.
All right, then I'll close the public comment opportunity and declare that the public hearing is now closed and turn it over to my council colleagues for any questions, direction, before I look at a motion.
Yeah, I'd just like to commend Mr. Ruddick on his very appropriate attire for this item, and just say that there was a lot of buzz created by the public comment. So, if you'd like to go ahead.
That's gonna be a tough one to follow there. And
I'll just follow with the motion to introduce and waive the full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance amending Elk Grove Municipal Code Title 8 related to animals, Section 9.08.020, firearms defined, and Title 23 zoning, CEQA exempt.
All right, we do have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And a second. Any others that want to provide any comments?
How do I follow that?
Yeah, I don't have any, clever B comments, but I do want to just sort of zero in a little bit on Commissioner Murphy's comments, because I did have a decent sized conversation with him yesterday, and he wanted it to be very clear to staff and us that he did not dissent on policy disagreement. And it does state here that it was really on the outreach process. And I will share some of those concerns that Commissioner Murphy raised, because our rural community often feels like they aren't seen and heard. And so what we may consider non-substantive, changes or code cleanup, that's still subject to interpretation of what's considered cleanup language versus, say, a substantive amendment. And there might have been opportunities for additional engagement in there. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared a little bit more of why he did dissent, and I do definitely appreciate him continuing to be a good steward for the rural community and raising those concerns. So with that, we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that is unanimous.
And I'll just note that Councilmember Nguyen just stepped out, but that'll be a 4-0 vote that will pass that
Oh, I
ordinance.
didn't see her. Well, the chair turned around. Thank you. And we are going to wait on yours, item 8.2, because it's not quite 7, and the other items are quite, I would think, a little lengthy. But we'll go ahead and start. Yeah, I was thinking 9.2 because I believe the chief's report might be a little bit longer. So with that objection, we'll go on to 9.2 first. Thank you.
And item 9.2 will be to receive the results of the National Community Survey. And Carrie, I think the presentation will actually be on the desktop, but if you use the share screen under Zoom.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, good evening. I'm Carrie Whitlock, Strategic Planning and Innovation Program Manager. So I am here this evening to discuss the results from the most recent National Community Survey. The NCS is a benchmark survey developed by the National Research Center and the International City County Management Association, and provides a comprehensive picture of livability and resident perspectives about local government services, policies, and management. The survey's been conducted every other year in Elk Grove since 2009, so we have over a decade's worth of data at this point. The results of the survey are used to determine community need, to support budget development, to measure progress, and to help improve service delivery. The survey was mailed to 6,600 random selected households in the city. This random sampling allows the results to be representative of residents of Elk Grove. So we received 723 responses during the 7 weeks when the survey was open from late October to mid-December 2021. In addition to the random sample survey, we also posted a link to the survey on the city website and allowed any residents to opt in to fill out the survey. That was open for about 3 weeks in late November and December, and we received about 105 responses to that. The results from the opt-in portion of the survey are not included in the data I'm going to present this evening, so as not to introduce bias into the random sample survey, but all of the data for the random sample and for the opt-in survey are included in the final report in different tabs. So as mentioned, the survey is a benchmarking survey, and that allows for, that provides a number of standard questions, but it also allows comparisons across jurisdictions that use the NCS. The city also included several custom questions for 2021. Those custom questions focused on top priorities for city residents, effectiveness at managing funds, residents' employment status and commuting, and internet services. So one of the key items the survey captures is community livability. So residents are asked questions that are intended to capture perspectives around these 10 facets of community. The survey asks residents what areas of focus should be prioritized over the coming 2 years. And you can see here the percentage of respondents who rated each of the areas as either essential or very important. Safety continues to be a top priority for our residents, as does the economy. Both of those were priorities in 2019 as well. The utility infrastructure was added to the survey between 2019 and 2021, so there's no historical data, but it was a priority for residents in the 2021 survey. So one of the useful ways to look at data is to consider what aspects of the community are most important to residents and which they perceive as being higher or lower quality. So you can see here, graphed along the bottom is importance from left to right, and then along the side is quality from bottom to top. The dashed lines are the median. So for importance, the median was around 83%, and for quality, it was around 71%. Those falling closest to the trend line, which you can see in red, are those where the quality ratings are more in line with resident priorities. So those areas in the upper left in the yellow box are ones where residents perceive the quality to be higher than importance for them. And the areas in the lower right-hand corner of the matrix in the blue box are areas where residents perceive the quality to be lower than the importance. So I wanted to highlight a few items that are in the survey. This is just a touch of the results that are included. With each of these charts, you'll see data from 2009, the first year we did the survey, 2019, and then 2021. So first, residents continue to believe Elk Grove provides a positive quality of life, with those residents rating this area as excellent or good increasing to 83% in 2021. Elk Grove is a place to live, also continue to see increases, as does the overall image or reputation of Elk Grove. As mentioned, safety and the economy continue to be priorities for our residents. In terms of safety, over 90% of residents reported feeling safe in their neighborhood, similar to previous surveys, and 86% reported feeling safe in the downtown commercial areas. Related to the economy, nearly 7% of residents reported the overall economy of the city as excellent or good, which was the same as 2 years ago. The quality of business and service establishments increased significantly, with 71% rating this as excellent or good, up from 58% in 2019. And in addition, the quality of economic development has continued to increase from 33% when it was first measured in 2009 to 55% in 2021. So while residents perceive the economy as good, there is more concern with the cost of living and availability of affordable quality housing. The percent of residents who rated the cost of living in Elk Grove as excellent or good peaked in 2015 at 45% and has declined to 33% in 2021. In addition to this, there's also been a decline in the percent who feel the Availability of affordable quality housing is either excellent or good, down from 49% in 2009 to 27% now. The variety of housing options has also been perceived to have declined from 52% to 42% over the last 2 years. The survey also asked respondents how they think the economy will impact their family income over the next 6 months. And over the past 2 years, there's been a significant decline in those who believe it will be positive and an even more significant increase in those who think it will be negative. We also asked a custom question of residents, asking for the top 3 items they believe should be priorities for the city. The top 2 responses, addressing homelessness was the top at 41%, and affordability and cost of living was number 2 at 40%. Finally, I wanted to highlight just a few items on governance and inclusivity. In governance, there's been increases in residents' perceptions of the city. The rating for customer service by Elk Grove employees has continued to climb, up from 66% in 2009 to 75% now. The overall direction of the city is taking has also continued to increase, as has treating all residents fairly. One of the custom questions that was asked this year also talked to residents about whether they agree with the statement that the city effectively manages taxpayer money, and 74% of residents agreed with that statement. Inclusivity is an area where a number of new questions were added for 2021, so you don't see any comparison data here, but Elk Grove received positive marks in this area, rating higher than national and custom benchmarks communities for a number of these questions, including high marks for making all residents feel welcome, attracting people from diverse backgrounds, and valuing and respecting residents from diverse backgrounds. So that said, there's a lot more detail. The survey is posted on the city website, along with all of the previous year's surveys, and with that, I am available for any questions.
All right, thank you for that presentation. At this time, I will go ahead and open up the public comment opportunity.
And this would be the opportunity for our participants in the Zoom environment. If you wish to address item 9.2, now would be the time to use that raised hand function to start placing yourself into the queue. As I'm looking at our speaker slips, we don't have any for item 9.2 for our attendees here in the chamber. And I'm taking my attention back to our Zoom environment. I do not see the raised hand function being used for item 9.2. That will conclude public comment for item 9.2. As well, no written comments were received in relation to the item prior to the meeting.
All right, then I'll go ahead and close the public comment opportunity. And given the hour here, we'll start with maybe one of my colleagues here who may have questions or comments regarding the survey, so that we don't encroach onto that 7 o'clock. So
And Mayor and Council, you do have the time to conclude this item, so if you
We'll
do,
have-
as long as we're close to that closure
Okay,
after
very
7
good.
o'clock, I think we're good.
So we'll start with Councilmember Nguyen. Any questions, comments?
No questions or comments. I had the opportunity to look through all of this, and it was excellent. I really like the fact that we just saw each year it increase the questions, though, around COVID and how it impacts them. I think it aligns with what I'm seeing going on out there in the community as well, too. And so thank you so much for this.
Councilmember Spies?
Thank you. I did appreciate this this survey very much. It's very helpful to see some of the things that we have improved, and so particularly in terms of economic development, I think it's fantastic that we're seeing an increase in that. Of course, the housing continues to be a challenge, and of course we're going to keep on driving on that. There's a whole lot more to digest in here. I think there's some recommendations that I'll probably be thinking about and hopefully bring back in future items. So,
Thank you. Councilmember Hume?
Sure, this is always one of my favorite staff reports to hear, just because it's kind of a check-in with the voices of people that you may not run into in our daily lives out on the streets. And so to the point that's been made, it's good to see the majority of the trend lines being positive. And not only that, but also, to think that I think it was 56% of the people say that overall everything is going in the right direction. That's kind of unheard of when you're asking about government opinions or opinions of government. You know, and even the one that I saw a slight backslide of feeling safe in your neighborhood went from 93% to 92%. So that's still pretty darn good that the, you know, 9 out of 10 people a little north of that feel safe in their neighborhoods. And so, you know, there are some areas, particularly the housing and some of the economic development, but it's good to see that the new questions that are being asked are receiving positive marks as well. So all in all, I think it's very positive feedback, and I just, as I say, I just enjoy having that opportunity to reflect on the job we're doing.
Vice Mayor Sun?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I echo some of those comments. Carrie, thank you and your staff for doing this work and taking part in this survey. I think all of us try to do our own best, reaching out to the community and doing our own due diligence to make sure we're in touch and trying to make our decisions based on that. And I think this report really reinforces that we are. And with the concerns that are highlighted with homelessness and affordable housing, I think those are the top of our minds as well. And just the overall direction in terms of the economy, there's some great, I think, additions to our city from restaurants and establishments, and the Old Town Plaza, and you know, places making what's the word I'm looking for? Placemaking. Thank you, Councilmember Hume. Placemaking, all those things we're trying to accomplish. There's a lot of positive feedback for that. So it's just a great temperature gauge, this survey for what we're doing up here on the dais. Thank you.
Thank you to my colleagues. I echo a lot of the same comments. This is a great benchmark for us as we make decisions on various items, and it's good to know that, you know, things that we are also concerned about as it relates to affordability, that it ranks right up there as a concern of our community. I just have a question of Ms. Whitlock, if I can, do you have a microphone there? Okay. So the 11% response rate, what's your thought on that? Is that a good, you know, what were you hoping to get? What's an acceptable goal?
So that actually is a fairly good response rate. Surveys don't often get, you know, response rates much over 20%. So 11% is gives us a 95% confidence interval. So we still are able to really say that it's representative. The numbers are representative even with the 11%.
So that when you say that in terms of the validity, that's the scientific portion of the survey, not the online where one could go and submit comments and opinions numerous times.
Right. For the opt-in survey, because people could, there was not a random sample, right? So people opted in themselves, and people could redo the survey on multiple times. So that's not included in the 11% response rate.
Okay, very good. No, this is very helpful. Great data here for all of us, and particularly all of our department heads as it relates to the work that they do. So thank you for bringing this report to us. All right, we will now transition back to item 8.2, perfect timing.
Appreciate the hopscotch on the agenda order as we accommodate the new state laws, but this is for item 8.2, a public hearing to receive an update on the redistricting project, including public outreach to date, evaluating district maps submitted to date, and provide direction for district map submittals to return for final adoption, and provide other direction as deemed appropriate. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, I'm Jason Lindgren, your city clerk. I will be giving a presentation, so I'll be going up to the podium here in just a moment, but just wanted to give those kind of call outs. But this is game time for redistricting. We've stepped and we're turning a distinct kind of point in time, and I'll be going through that in the presentation. So just give me a moment. Yeah, please do. All right. And hopefully this is to get the presentation out to our attendees in the Zoom audience as well. We really do live in interesting times, and I thank you, Council, for your patience as we were working through the hybrid model, enabling ourselves to bring in speakers externally. But it's really interesting going through this process for a process that only comes around 10 years. The steps and the advances that we've made technologically are fascinating when going through a project such as this. I would be remiss if I did not say that our representatives from National Demographic Corporation are here backing me up literally tonight. But really, this is the last step. As I said, we're at a turning point where we are going to be looking at a lot of maps. And those maps are hopefully getting to a point where we can consolidate and then hand those maps over to our demographers, who then bring these back for the final end game of our redistricting project. I'm going to be going over just an overview of the outreach that we were conducting throughout the second half of the month of February, beginning of March, and how workshops went. I'm going to go briefly over some of our guidelines and criteria that we really started that discussion for February 23rd, but they became the basis for how we would evaluate these maps that were coming in from our online tools that were made available through wonderful innovation of a decade in between a project. And then we're going to be going into the map evaluations themselves. There were 21 map submittals. For the sake of the chief, I'm not going to be going through every 21 of the submittals. I'm going to be giving that framework for how we as staff evaluated these maps, looked at them, and kind of put them through a filter of ones that have some issues with them, but trying to get to kind of those ones that come to the cream of the crop from the set. And we'll go over just kind of that methodology that staff went through. And last, there's the narrowing of that kind of in the deliberations of whether we can get to getting to a narrowed field of a finalist map, and then those next steps, which will be a series of public hearings that'll continue to come to you at council meetings in this chamber as we move forward. So the redistricting website really is that clearinghouse for all this information. So for anyone interested, please jump on the site, because it's not only what are our upcoming milestones that we'll be seeing, it's not only the collection of all 21 of these wonderful maps, it's also the history of where this project has gone, but it's also setting this framework so that we will have this work product for us when we're back at this in 2031. Where we are in the timeline for now is we started this project in earnest end of January. And where you'll see is that series of public hearing dates. Where we are is this turning point in March where we have received a series of maps from the public. This is the review of those maps this evening as we look, and what we're trying to do is get to a process where we can narrow down the set of maps. Why you might hear a little urgency in my voice is the chief does have a presentation that he wants to get to, but the other element is a deadline of April 17th for this process. And under the new state laws, we're still going to have a series of public hearings to make it through with maps that we've narrowed down to being the finalist draft maps from the council that the council wishes to see for final consideration. When we talk about the outreach from that process that was starting in late January, this goes over some of the bullet points that were also detailed within the staff report, but you're looking at the outreach to our committees and commissions. There were a series of workshops that I'll touch base on in just a little bit, but for various dates and locations throughout the city of Elk Grove. Tried using some technology to expand out kind of our footprint, but it was also with kind of a sensitivity about what our times are in the pandemic environment, and that people gathering, we haven't quite filled the chamber yet, but I'm sure we will at some point. But there's a little bit of trepidation that I believe was out in the community, and we tried to give a variety of avenues for folks to come out. Beyond that, lots of emails going out to kind of bang the drum to get people to come out and discuss redistricting and have some fun with their city clerk and their fellow neighbors as we went through this process. We've been having public hearings. You've been hearing from me, though in that Zoom environment, but now we'll continue to have some public hearings, and those will be coming back on March 23rd and April 13th. The workshop outreach, kind of interesting, is to provide these avenues in which we would provide experiences for folks that they could meet outdoors, hopefully socially distanced. At the same time that they're outdoors, there was an option that they could Zoom in and talk to the same individual that was out there in order to chit-chat with them online. Then we had venues that were indoor. And with the indoor venues, we also tried to open up kind of a Zoom environment and run a hybrid. We didn't run into many of the sound issues that we did tonight, but those we fixed up. But in our environments of what we did with our outreach workshops, the table was set. I did not receive a lot of folks to come to dine with me on the topic of redistricting. We started to pick up some momentum as we headed towards the end of the process. And what's interesting, I think, as we go through kind of the highlights of what really worked was making those connections, such as with individuals within the community that then linked me up to a group to then hear. And then the discussions that would come from those group meetings and workshops really were those are those places where there's that most fruitful discussion that occurs. The nice part about redistricting and the regulations that are out there now is our work product gets pushed onto our website. So for anyone following from being remote, but not only is it just what's the work product, but it's also how to make the work. So what we were doing mostly in those workshops was focusing folks on map drawing. And this is that program where you can go online, paint by numbers, it pulls through the census data. Geographic Information Systems gives you immediate feedback as to whether your maps are gonna be sufficient or gonna need some more work. The Districter program provided 2 avenues, which was to give communities of interest feedback, but also just district map plans. And really in those workshops, we talked about map equations and how would you go about drawing maps. One element about going online and opening up the opportunity for anyone to submit a map is the hope is that we weren't going to get a lot of experimental maps or folks that weren't quite informed about the process that it meant for going through redistricting with Elk Grove. And I think really where the connections were made during the workshops was giving folks kind of the content of the Elk Grove experience for redistricting and how to approach using these tools. Because anyone can come in and draw a whole bunch of pictures, but they go through these filters of being evaluated as we move forward. And I think that's really where the value was for those connections that were made out in our community. So I would go over the map equation, and I think the biggest part is those regulations. We've seen these come before the council, which we start at the federal level of those equal population divisions with a plus or minus 5%, but we're going for the 4 council districts. So it starts with kind of limiting what we're doing with our equation. We go into the state requirements with contiguous, communities of interest, identifiable, and compact. For anyone wondering why identifiable doesn't have a C, that's clear boundaries that are identifiable. So it actually is a C. I'm just seeing who's paying attention. As you go into the final product, this is really where the story came out about what I think Elk Grove is experiencing in the 2022 series of doing redistricting. And that's the question of what happens when we move these boundaries. We know we have to move the boundaries. Elk Grove has grown to a certain extent. But what happens to the folks when we do move those boundaries around? And what direct effect does it have on our voting public? And I think what was really interesting before I jump into a lot of these items is for the Elk Grove story to me, is that there is a big part in which the transition that we had in 2019 to by-district elections changed the redistricting experience for Elk Grove. When we went through this back in 2011, the bigger question, I think, was of course going down from 5 districts to a 4-district model. Yet we were from district elections. Every voter would still vote for every seat that was created by our process. We really flipped kind of the narrative because now any districting changes that we do have an effect on voters. If the voters are not within a district or the district that they expect, they're either going to have a delay in seeing when they have an opportunity to vote. They may not have an opportunity to vote for a representative that they may have had in the past. And so it has this direct effect that where we draw these lines, it is going to have a definable impact on our voters, which is very different from what we encountered back in 2011. And so going forward in kind of these concepts, one of the items that these are items from our discussion in February 23rd for communities of interest. These are items that we brought forward, and staff went through a process of posting up maps to kind of stimulate the discussion. We didn't get a lot of communities of interest that came after the stimulation of discussion, but they were still out there with the source documentation, and they resonated a lot with our residents as we were able to have workshop discussions out there. The criteria for local redistricting, this is when we get to that 3rd tier. So I talked about the federal requirements for the equal population. We have the state requirements that go in the order that they do. But as we move into our local criteria, I think this is where we started talking about those elements that are important to Elk Grove and the Elk Grove community, the Elk Grove process. This is where we covered these kind of topics. And these topics came through in the evaluation to see how did map plans meet these areas. And we talk about all of these. We went over in February 23rd, and I can go back into any of them at a certain level of detail. But it starts talking about using that plus or minus population, whether that's appropriate for Elk Grove. How does Elk Grove deal with planned growth areas that are in our, that the census often sees as just a couple hundred people. But as we've seen in our past census takings, we constantly see expanded growth wherever we have new growth areas planned in the city, often skews our districts. We talked about areas that are outside of Elk Grove that sometimes have an impact. So whether it's neighboring jurisdictions or study areas from our general plan. We talked about project areas, which included both main roadways and thoroughfares within the city of Elk Grove. Could include larger projects of the region, like the Capital Southeast Connector. And we even touched just about some policy areas in terms of projects with the regional housing needs allocations. That district connection was a question that I think starts coming into that question of by district for the city of Elk Grove. And it starts talking about how are we going to move ahead with a by district map plan. Does it make a difference how our map looks and how we govern? Does it make a difference to our voters when we shift the boundaries? And what is the nature and the magnitude of that change? And last is just kind of an interesting question that comes up about density with Elk Grove. And as we've seen in our district maps, those areas with the larger map puzzle pieces have lower density. They move around a lot more, but where we see the smaller compacted areas, we start seeing that that's where the higher density is. It pulls our districts towards them, almost like a black hole. It just has a tendency to pull them across. And so we run into an interesting question about policy of how do we treat the 99 corridor? It becomes an interesting question from the staff perspective because inevitably we're pulling districts over from the east to the west. There's going to be some traversing, but as we got into kind of questions about how do we handle project areas or balance the density in areas that are pulling over, it's an interesting question about where district boundaries are. Because when you have one district boundary, it goes and kind of walks hand in hand with communities of interest of having one interested voice. When you have a district boundary that goes into an area in two places, or you have three districts that go up against something, you have multiple voices, and some of those voices might get diluted. But what was interesting is we found when we're talking about council districts, but you get all four of them united onto a common cause, it has a tendency to actually go back into that area of raising the voice for the representation of an item. The community feedback that I got through both reaching out to our commissions and committees and the outreach workshops, and I would like to thank Assistant City Clerk Brenda Haggard for fielding some of my appearances that were scheduled in front of some of our committees and commissions. I ended up getting double booked, and so Brenda went in and was fantastic giving presentations to our committees and commissions. But it was interesting to hear back from everyone. And part of it was the appreciation for the access to the process. So I think I busted out into a Hamilton song saying the room where it happened is online. So you don't have to worry about being in the room where it happened. You can be in your own room and see what's happening in the process. And I think that was, it's that fascinating element about being able to provide not only the tools, but the information and the process as it unfolds. The other items that came through was there was a big desire after talking about the Elk Grove experience and the effect that by district could have in this process. There were a lot of folks that wanted to maintain consistency of districts. And so there were a lot of folks that once they heard that the possibility that they may not be voting for a seat or being moved into a different district, those became concerns for folks. Again, the voter displacement is along a similar line of whether or not an action was going to move folks into one district or another. There was a concern about the anonymity of authors of maps. So when we look at this level, we have the ability for anyone to submit a map. They don't have to live within the community of Elk Grove. I would be fascinated, based off of the response that I got from the workshops within Elk Grove, that I attracted a whole bunch of interest outside of Elk Grove. I would be really surprised and would want to try to track where we have somebody that's that interested in redistricting across the nation or the world. But it's an interesting element because in my book, the more maps, the better. It's more data, it's more to synthesize, and that even if the author is anonymous or we don't know if they have a dubious purpose, the more that maps come in, it gives us something more to play with. It gives us stimulation and ideas, and it wasn't that big of a concern for me at the end of the day. But the last part of it was the desire for project exclusions from a particular district. This was the comment that came in via Green Sheet, and that was actually an individual expressing that they were not interested in a particular project and its water usage, and they didn't want that included in the district. So it's kind of an interesting one for folks that want to paint districts. What's tough about that is when we get back to those federal requirements or the state requirements, if we're piecemeal removing things, it starts making for some really interesting map making that I don't think helps the process that we're looking to achieve. So evaluating the 21 maps. As I said, we're not going to be going through 21 maps. When the staff went through the process, really we found 3 tiers. And what happened is a certain set rose to the top of this triangle that's showing this model. What we found is at the very bottom, the maps typically that kind of didn't start were the ones that missed out on the federal categories of the population equity, or they missed out on the state requirements. And when they missed out on those 2 categories, they don't seem structurally sound as maps that would want to move forward. What's interesting about many of those maps, though, is they introduce intriguing ideas, for lack of a better word. And so where they might be a little more experimental, or they might be a process that someone had some means that was behind the maps, to view them, it's kind of interesting just to see where they're going from. Unfortunately, we're not here for an experimental process. We're here to get a finalized map that we can use that is legally compliant. Our next level were the ones that, these maps, they made it past population for the most part. Some of them still had some issues, and really it was that plus or minus deviation, that they were getting outside of the total 10% deviation, because it's a very, very small window between our districts. But what was interesting about these maps is that typically what they would do is these would get a little more creative on redrawing the boundary lines. And what they were doing was creating more disruptions amongst voters in Elk Grove. And from the staff perspective, what we found as we went through the process is that if you're talking about moving voters from District 1 to 3 or Districts 2 to 4, it's actually not that bad, because the voter experience is it'll be just as we had before in a from district system. They're still going to have a representative that they're going to get to vote on, and they're not going to miss any kind of an election cycle. But what happens is when you have these transactions between the even districts and the odd districts, you're going to have folks that are going to see gaps to an effect that they may not vote for a representative for a period of 6 years, or they might get advanced in the line and they were already voting for someone, but now they're put into another area and they have 2 years. We actually kind of counted that as a bonus, unless that's what someone was doing in order to get a voter block put forward. But that's deeper than any analysis I can do. At the top tier were ones that actually, what we found from staff perspective, is they did the least harm, but the most good in terms of moving boundary maps. And they really shored up the boundary maps that we had as far as the lines, and they went close to it. There are areas where, of course, we have to make a change. But what we found in these maps is that not only did they meet the federal requirement and the state requirements, and some of them could get shored up a little bit just in those terms, but that the maps that were provided really had the least disruption of our Elk Grove voters. If you're asking why there's a whole bunch of colored numbers inside, is that when we do a process where we're getting tons of maps that are submitted, there's a lot of similarities that start coming in. And so if you see blue on numbers, those blue numbers are actually maps that were very close to each other, slight variations going through. Likewise, the red set. And then the orange set, I believe it is. The black ones are doing their own thing. They're unique, and they're kind of intriguing ideas, but it's kind of hard to cross your eyes and stare at a whole bunch of maps and then say, yeah, those are kind of similar. They actually aren't. They're very unique items that go through. But as staff went through the process, we went and found the 4 top items. And what does it mean to have 4 top items? Well, what we did as staff, and this is an example of map 3, which is one of the ones that we would recommend for going through. And really what it is a scorecard. And so you're looking, do you meet the federal requirement within that plus or minus 5%? And so any of the ones that go over 5% in the deviation, remember, you're talking about 2,000 residents either way. And so though we had discussions about discounting places where we don't expect new growth, but then, or where we expect new growth to have smaller districts so that they can fill in, but then you have built out districts to add more population. There's really not that much more that we can add or subtract at the end of the day. This gives a snapshot of the demographics, just to make sure that we're not running afoul. And all of these are going to be used voting age population. So not just total population. This goes down and digs in a little bit to the voting age population. It's done for the top 6 districts. Unfortunately, in the district program, you can only run 3 at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I did the top 6 that were in the numbers. But it gives us a comparison to how do those districts pair up across the demographic percentages that we have for the whole of the city of Elk Grove. But then there's the report card, and the report card is this item down below, and it talks about those state requirements, our communities of interest, if they've been followed, the boundary issues of what are the neighboring boundaries, what are the plan areas. The electoral really dives into what kind of displacements occurring to our Elk Grove voters, And then that last column has population, which is talking about these elements about using the deviation in order to accommodate for new growth. And then there was a policy item which talked about traversing the 99 or using the 99 as a boundary. And that became a tough one because usually it was either or it just didn't quite work there. We'd see a whole bunch of blends of what was going on. There was one last one, which was zero deviation. That was a policy that we followed in 2011, which is to get districts as close to all equal population. And you'll see for a lot of these maps, they don't get very close to zero deviation. Most folks were going and pursuing the idea of balancing out districts by how much they could build out and how much new growth was associated with them. So staff went through the process of doing these. And I could probably, for anyone, if they want to argue whether a particular color, but really they're colors. There's no metric that goes to these. There's no number that gets associated. It's the feeling of whether you look at this and say, do those districts look contiguous? Do they look compact? Do they follow the maps that we have from our communities of interest for respecting the rural area, for HOAs, and for subdivisions?
Jason, while you take a sip of water, can I ask a question about that? So then when you're looking at the colors of the proposed districts relative to the green, yellow, or red on the displacement, we should ignore if the districts are not necessarily, so in this example, they show District 2 as being colored as District 1. That would not displace all of the residents of District 2. It's just that is assumed to be a district.
You are correct.
Okay.
And it's assumed to be the geographic district that we expect. This is part of the process of going open to the internet, is that if folks decide not to follow the order, as you can see, this person probably colors from right to left, as opposed to left to right. And that's typically how the system's set up. But I would say in this map, like if you look at the blue district that's over to the east, that is District 2, even though it's going to be showing, I believe it displays it as District 1. But that is just going to be a disconnect that happens as this process is opened up to an online processing that goes on. And beyond that, staff just had some notes. It's the take that you get as you look through these maps, as you flip through them. And I think what's important too is that all of these maps, they are submittals. And for some of them, what we found is there are areas that are that you can make corrections on them, right? Or that they may find a better balance just in the way that we move through. So you'll see in some of those staff notes, this was an interesting one because I think they did a lot of exchanges for voters. So when you looked at what the actual boundaries were, and if you're curious as to how that happens, in the district program, when somebody submits a map, you can lay down what the current district maps are. So you can just look and see how it displaced folks and move them around. And basically I do a little tally sheet. How many times did people move out of District 4? Where did they go? And if it was one of those better movements of the exchange between odd districts or even districts, that's a better thing to see. Whereas if it actually displaced voters and put them into some other category, that's where you're going to be seeing those red kind of categorizations that go through. So in this is one where I'd say that, compact gets gauged as yellow. Does yellow and red mean don't move forward with this map? No, it's just in that one quality. What we're looking at is the whole gestalt of each of these maps to find which one do we want to move forward to. This is one where I would say right around that 99, you see kind of a rough border, and I'm not sure how much that rough border immediately west of 99 in the lime colored district, whether that's a clear distinction. You could probably shore that up and do one of those things where you're making more compact and clear borders that are going on. Map number 4, again, you'll see that it has the display. And I think what this one kind of started to show was the reduction in how much folks were getting displaced. Again, this is when it's kind of connecting. If I would just say that there was anything wrong with map number 4, it's when you're looking at that interplay that happens between districts 1 and 3, because it starts splitting what we have from our community of interest maps, what we would see as subdivisions or HOAs. And so when you see that kind of squiggle that comes around the top, that's one of those kind of site vectors that we see. And one of the things was going through the workshops is letting folks know our smell test is one of the best things we have. Look at these maps. What part looks weird? And you can kind of quickly find out, you know what, something's not there. From the staff perspective, I didn't want to just do a presentation of what looks weird. So we tried doing the scorecard to give a little bit of substance as to why we were making these calls on these items. And for some of this, there's some interesting accommodation for growth, somewhat. So you're going to see that For this one, it's putting a lot of growth still back in District 4, but the other new growth area that we have is actually in District 2. And so if you're kind of splitting those, it does some accounting for growth, and it also accounts for growth by kind of super packing the areas that aren't going to expand as much. Map 11 is an interesting one, and I think this is the one that probably ranked the most green as we looked into these ones. But one of the first things was those elongated districts. So when you look at that state requirement of them being compact, they're a little bit longer, but so is Elk Grove, right? East to west, we have a longer dimension as far as where that goes. I think this is an interesting map because it has the only one that has a center point where all districts actually touch. And it's kind of an interesting concept when we're talking about by district, that not so much do all the districts need to touch, but maybe there's a question of what happens when a district is actually isolated from other districts. It may create certain kinds of thought patterns or just disconnections that happen as opposed to when we actually get a policy plan that brings our districts together. And I think there's an interesting element to that in this one. This one proposes all the new growth in District 2, which is an interesting concept in its own. And as we look, this is an element where I talked about the rankings that you may see about traversing the 99, being a boundary on the 99. Yes, they do that. But if you actually go back to look at the boundary of how policy is done for SR 99, this is one that we rank green. Because as you look through it, all 4 of the council voices are on State Route 99, which is a unique plan of something that we haven't seen. There's a tagline that I put on here that's from our city, so it's Proud Heritage, Bright Future. And it's an interesting concept of taking District 2, which is an area with a lot of rural uses and communities of interest tied to the rural area. But this is a map that's tying the rural area to our new growth area that is probably going to be one of the closest to urban center that we're seeing. And it's an interesting concept, and we'll get into this in just a little bit more, but of the guiding as we go into the next decade, because these maps do change as time goes on, something could be said of representation that not only is representing the past of Elk Grove, from what has traditionally been the historical center of Elk Grove that's expanded out, but uniting it with the planning that's going on for the future of Elk Grove. So from the process of staff looking at these maps and flipping through them and going through them, these were just some points of observation in terms of looking at what made maps a little bit more viable or what were interesting concepts. As I said, we had some very conceptual maps that came forward, but even though they might not have met the state and federal requirements, they had some intriguing ideas to them. And so one of these observations is that many of the maps that we received were really bordering just past that range of deviation. And so when you're talking about maps that are showing a 5.27% or a 6%, they've tipped over just a little bit in the wrong direction for that federal requirement, and that you could make adjustments to maps in order to bring them a little bit more into the parity that's required under the federal requirement. When you looked at the next item is the zero-based or low population blocks. I saw a lot of maps that came in and they take an area like the auto mall or they take a shopping center and they flop it around so that it makes a weird boundary. They're really zero population areas. And so those become fungible. You can move them around in order to make a cleaner cut. If there's a map that we see, these are options of things that we could do in order to kind of finer tune the maps that are coming forward. The one voice, few voices are all voices. This is a measure from staff of using the communities of interest that when we had one representative facing an area, that seemed an alternative to splitting an interest amongst 2 or 3. But when we then tipped over to get 4 council member representatives in an area, that actually seemed to be a positive because it got everyone involved in whatever that policy or plan or topic area would be. One thing that was consistent in all of the maps is that the former District 4 has an area that goes north of Elk Grove Boulevard. Every map plan that was submitted moved that area of Elk Grove, and it becomes basically a mathematical impossibility to drop it south of Elk Grove Boulevard because of when you're seeing the growth that's happening within District 4. It just starts pushing it out, and that the needs that are coming from Districts 1 and 3, a lot of folks submitted maps, and that was one area that was consistently always changed. An interesting one that came up from one of the maps was splitting the new growth area. So you may have seen in some of the maps, typically what folks were doing was keeping the new growth area down in the southeast policy area. They were keeping it together, but map 14 actually had a division on the line of the southeast policy area to split that between two districts. It's an intriguing idea because once again, once we're talking about new growth area, the total population down there in the eyes of the census is not very high, even though we know houses have been filling in, but it's a concept for us to think about, okay, if we don't want to see another district that outpaces everyone else by 10,000 extra voters as we get to the next census, this is a concept that could be used in a final map. I think I mentioned about isolated districts. Got kind of interesting looking at some of the combinations. There are instances where you can have a district, and especially for District 1. I think it's the one that, for a lot of folks, they can draw district plans that kind of peg it into the corner, and now you create this kind of dynamic of splitting your districts and whether or not there is a design, by design, a governance model to bring folks more together. And the last one, and this is another one where I'd like to shout out to Brenda, but it's the urban-suburban-rural interface. And it's kind of interesting to look at Elk Grove, as Brenda brought this up to me, of looking at the rural area of our traditionally in District 2 and seeing down in District 4, the areas that are planned for growth are really going, I think, beyond suburban and going into more urban settings. And I think when you look at the built environment of our Districts 1 and 3, those are going to be more suburban. But as you put all of Elk Grove together, is there an interface there that we want to kind of think about as we move forward and look at governance models and how we vote folks in? There's a lot of information on the webpage. There's a lot of maps on the webpage. What you will find inside of your staff report, it started with 14 maps. As we went from the weekend to today, there were 2 Green Sheet staff memos that came out that added another 7 maps into the collection. Those 7 maps that were added, they were part of the triangle that was in there, but those maps I don't think came in and exceeded. In many cases, they were very close to a map that had been submitted prior, but sometimes they took a step back. And usually the step back they took was moving folks into a different district that would be more disruptive. So staff provided those items for the consideration for the 21, but we've got 4 maps. What are those next steps that we're going to be heading into? The next steps, and what we're ideally looking for tonight, is to narrow the list of what are our final maps. When I have a map or a couple of maps, I'm going to hand them over to our demographer, and he will provide the final analysis that we can then bring back per state requirements to meet our meetings of March 23rd and April 13th in order to adopt a final map on the 13th. But where we want to be tonight is to distill down this map set of 21 that we have. From the staff perspective, we think we've got a bubbling set that's up at in the realm of 4 maps. All 4 maps, do they all need to move forward? Some of them are very similar. So it's more whether council has some comments about the maps that have been submitted. But in addition, not just maps, but if there were any other considerations, we can do an iteration of a map, or if there are any suggested changes, we could get those and get those implemented and have our demographer take a look at them. But we think where we are from the process from our public is that they provided us a lot of guidance in where to start with these maps. But from the start, we want to move to a pretty quick finish with our deadlines. In all honesty, if I knew now what I didn't know back then, I would have loved to have started this process in September. Instead, the process was started seeking assistance externally. It would have been nice to have been doing this at the end of January. And it would have given us some more time in order to kind of sift through these maps and go through them. If I'd say there's benefits to the Elk Grove equation, is that we are confined. So when I go back to the map equation for Elk Grove, we are confined in space. There's only so much mathematically that we can do, but we've seen 21 iterations. I bet there's going to be a few more that are going to show up by the end of the week. So, but what I start seeing is a lot of patterns that are very similar. But with that, I turn it over to the council. I don't think, and if there's any clarifying questions, I have extra slides if anybody wants any clarification on any of the items that came up.
All right, before we get to that, I'm going to go ahead and declare that the public hearing is now open and open the public comment opportunity.
So what I'm going to do really fast is skitter back over to my other seat so that I can look in the Zoom environment and see what's going on. So,
and I don't see anyone signed up in person. Let's see. Patrick, yeah. You'll get your chance, sir.
And I'm going to be looking at our list of folks, but we do have a member of the public on the Zoom environment that I'm seeing right now. And so we can start that process once I remember how to log into my computer. And just to confirm, yes, I do not see any of our members of the public here in the attending audience, but for our Zoom environment, I will pull up that speaker timer now.
Rena Singha, you may go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Reena, and I'm a resident of Elk Grove. As a Punjabi American, I want to express my support for MAP 21. Our Punjabi community lives both on the northeast of Highway 99 and southwest of Highway 99. As such, it is important that my community receives the accurate representation in the redistricting process and in the city council in the upcoming years. Punjabi Americans living in this city share the same language, cultural background, similar economic and financial backgrounds. The Punjabi community living northeast of Highway 99 between Calvine Road and Sheldon Road attend the same local businesses, make use of the same public utilities such as public neighborhood parks and healthcare facilities. This community also attends the same gurdwaras, which are Sikh temples, and they are Gurdwara Sacramento Sikh Society located on Bradshaw Road, as well as Gurdwara Dashmesh Darbar Sahib, which is located on Elk Grove Florin Road. This area is also home to a large number of Punjabi-owned small businesses, and as such, it is important that the Punjabi community living northeast of Highway 99 between Calvine Road and Sheldon Road is kept together all the way until Bradshaw Road. MAP 21 achieves this with the yellow district. So if you were to pull up the MAP 21, you would be able to see that. The Punjabi communities living west of Highway 99 likewise attend the same places of worship and small Punjabi businesses on east of Highway 99. The Punjabi community living south of Elk Grove Boulevard specifically also owns several local businesses in the southwest area of Highway 99. This community also needs to be kept together, and MAP 21 allows for this with District Blue. I hope you will consider this feedback and thoroughly discuss and adopt MAP 21, as this map, compared to the other maps, has a pretty low variance percentage, and it also makes sure that a more accurate representation of the diversity that exists in Elk Grove is achieved. Thank you so much for your time. I yield.
Thank you, caller, for your comment. Are there any others?
And we do have another speaker. We will pull them from the Zoom environment.
Tejas Kumar, you may go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, Board of Council members. My name is Tejas Kumar, and I'm a resident of Elk Grove. I'm speaking to you today because as a member of the Punjabi American community, I would like to see my community stay together in the same districts. Punjabi Americans living in this city share the same language, cultural background, similar economic and financial backgrounds. They share the same places of worship with Gurdwara Sacramento Sikh Society located on Bradshaw Road and Gurdwara Dashmesh Darbar Sahib located on Elk Grove Florin Road. MAP 21 allows for the inclusion of all Punjabi communities living west of Highway 99 to be kept in the same district, which is District Yellow, as this district's boundaries extends all the way until Bradshaw Road, which is something no other proposed maps do at the moment. The Punjabi communities living west of Highway 99 likewise attend the same places of worship and small Punjabi businesses on east of Highway 99. The Punjabi community living south of Elk Grove Boulevard specifically also owns several local Punjabi businesses in the southwest area of Highway 99. MAP 21 keeps this community together within District Blue. I hope that you will truly consider my request and that you will keep my community together within District Yellow and Blue, as shown in MAP 21. Thank you for your time, and I yield.
Thank you, caller. Do we have any others?
And as I look over the Zoom environment, there are no raised hand features being used. That will conclude the public comment for item 8.2.
All right, thank you. Then I'll go ahead and close the public comment opportunity and declare that the public hearing is now closed. And just a quick clarifying questions before we go to council. Who was part of the evaluating committee that came up with sort of the tiers? You said staff loosely, but.
Staff of me, so that was primarily your city clerk.
Well, I mean, that's
I'll
good to
put that
know.
out. This has been a very fast and quickly approaching process. So where I pulled on staff to assist as we moved forward, they helped me out with a lot of elements. So I did not convene any committee to pull folks in. And I'll say that the deadlines have been rapidly approaching every step of the way.
Yeah, and I share some of your concerns when you mentioned earlier. I do feel like it's a little rushed, but these are the constraints that we have. The second question is, so on the maps, there's some, pardon me, where it says anonymous. Some just have like a series of numbers, like SBA communities, and like, what is there supposed to be any significance to?
If I can
to
give you
this?
the basis, is that part of the process, and what you'll see, like as the maps are submitted online through Districtor, the map author gets to name their map. So the names could be just about anything, or they were anonymous. As we got into the process of getting kind of to game time tonight, this is a process that's a little more clinical. And so for some of the titles that came through, not that I would say that any of them were inappropriate, but it's the type of thing, if you're looking at real estate listings and you see stuff like adorable, that's not quite as quantifiable as something else. And so this was a little bit more of a clinical approach. What the intent of maintaining, though, the titles and the code sequence. So you might see 1-1 and a series of numbers, such as map 21 has 8006. That's the stamp from Districtor. And so it just keeps a consistency so that as map submitters see these maps move through the process to move them online and then move them into the staff report, they're able to track their maps as they're going forward. And then of course they have the date that they were submitted. So it was just really their identifiers.
Anybody put, basically.
Correct, and for some of them, you know, I think there was some creativity that folks were adding, but the title didn't affect much. Sometimes it provided some information about the intent of the author, but I would say most of the items that were moving forward, they were just descriptors that folks were giving for.
So like
their
for a
proposal.
better Elk Grove, it's not some stakeholder group that you're aware of. That's just
Not
what
that
they
I'm
call their
aware
map.
of. No, and I think that was more of perhaps a sales pitch of the author as they put forward their item. So.
Okay, and then this map 21 that we just heard, I don't see that evaluated here.
That would have been from the green sheet.
From the
so
green
it's
sheet.
one that would
And so
have
you
come
do
in.
have the color coding on the bottom.
Correct. And so where it scored really well is that it has contiguous and borders are pretty solid on this map. The compactness of the districts get kind of a little bit more elongated, and they had some issues in the concepts of the splitting some of the HOAs and subdivisions.
Yeah.
And these are things that we've seen on some of the maps. If I were to say what was a concern from the staff perspective is that displacement effect. And I think what the callers in particular are talking about is almost all the district maps that went forward from the staff recommendation. When you look at the Elk Grove Florin Road division, I think what the difference when you're looking at map 21 is that it's including areas of what were formerly District 2. And so if you move the areas that are being suggested that are east of Elk Grove Florin Road from District 2 into District 3, it creates that displacement effect, is that those individuals that are moved into District 3 would not be voting in the November 2022 election. They would be awaiting for 2024.
6 years, yep.
Yep, 6 years. And then last, the four that you have flagged as that were the most appealing, which one had the most greens? I didn't have the time, I didn't go through and count all the greens.
I think
Do you
from
have
just the
that?
perspective, I think it was map 11 is the one
That has the most.
but it also has its own unique aspects to it, right?
Okay.
So that it connects in the middle.
Yeah.
That's a difference in what we've seen from district maps before, but it's also that interplay of the new growth area being attached and being in unison with District 2, which is it's a different concept.
Okay. So we'll start with Councilmember Hume. Thanks for the clarifying questions.
Okay, I'll lead off here. I want to say relative to the naming of the maps, an anonymous person put in a map called District 4 Rocks. But the deviation, the displacement was terrible because the whole thing was District 4.
There is
I don't
one of
know
those
who
maps.
that was.
There is one of those maps, Councilmember. Hume.
Is there?
Somebody
Yeah.
colored in the whole city. So. But it was District 1.
We used to
Submitted
be
by
that
Lana
way.
and Hannah.
We used to be that way. Yeah, so I went through, and I appreciate that pyramid, and I appreciate the staff population of one that sorted through this so diligently. And, you know, there's the old saying that it's okay to talk to yourself as long as you don't interrupt. And so I hope there weren't too many knockdown, drag-out arguments as you were sorting through these maps, Jason. But, you know, the number one thing that I looked at was, I think more than anything, the displacement. And because the idea that somebody, now that we are by district city, that a swath or a neighborhood of people would not have been able to vote for their district representative for a span of 6 years is generally unacceptable to me. So I tried to look at that, number one. The deviation wasn't as important as long as I could see growth areas that were going to correct that within a span of years or not worsen it to a great degree. And then the last one that I appreciate staff's position on it, but I kind of fundamentally disagree with it from a community standpoint, is the local policy relative to 99 being a boundary. For me, that is the worst holdover gift that the county ever gave this community, was naming the area west of 99 Laguna and really creating 2 Elk Groves. And so to not have districts that span that and really make that a true physical barrier, I don't think has any merit or should be something that sways a decision one way or another. So all of that being said, I came to a longer list, and then as we looked over these maps and I considered them and realized that some of them took some tweaking to make them more like other maps, I've whittled that list down to where I would rank my maps, and I'm going to come back to at least the change that I'd like to see. Number 1 being map 11, number 2 being map 12, and number 3 being map 3. And what I would suggest on map 11, just to make it, I think, one, so it makes the deviation match up a little bit better and also accounts for some growth in that new growth area, would be to adjust the east to west line between District 4 and District 2, or the green district and the yellow district, down to Poppy Ridge instead of Whitelock, and then bring the new growth line north-south eastward over to the new Bighorn alignment. And so essentially you'd be reducing the amount of new growth area in the yellow district and increasing the amount of new growth area in the green district.
Are you talking about map 11?
Map
Councilmember?
11,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, okay. I was looking at that too. So can you tell the order again? You said 11, then?
Then 12. 11, 12. And then 3. And if I remember correctly, 3 had kind of some strange. Yeah, 3 does a little bit of weird things as how it treats Highway 99 right at Elk Grove Boulevard. And it gives the entire new growth area to current District 4, which I think is already at a population disadvantage moving forward. It's not a bad map. But 11, for me, 11 stood out far and away. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Nguyen?
Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate this. This really helped a lot. As I was going through this, Mr. Lindgren, I looked at, the colors really helped me, and the ones where there was a lot of reds, those were kind of red flags for me as well, too. It was fun to see how people thought that the city should be drawn and how they felt what was going to be fair. But I go back to many of the things that you talked about, where you want to keep the communities of interest together, but also looking at displacement, right, as we talked about, and how that wouldn't wouldn't be fair. And so this is a really tough thing to do. But like Councilmember Hume, 11 was one that I really liked. I liked the fact, especially after you were up there and you said how, 99 and we all kind of meet there at the 99. I really like that a lot. I didn't really notice that. I thought as I was looking at it, it was almost closest to what we have at the moment, where we'd have less displacement. But the fact that we all kind of meet at the 99 was something that I really like. I didn't like 3 very much. I thought it was unique. I thought it was different, but I didn't care for it as much. I actually liked 11, and that was it. I liked 11, and that was it. I felt like that was the least disruptive. I know number 12 named itself least disruptive, but I really thought 11 did its job. And I do agree with Councilmember Hume with drawing the lines instead of from White Lock, and we said it would go down to Poppy Ridge. Yep, Poppy Ridge. It's not on here. But yes, I would go with map 11, and that's the only one I'm moving forward.
Easy enough. Councilmember Spies.
Okay. Let me turn that on. Okay, so, in previous comments, I don't remember if it was last council meeting or prior, I expressed that I wasn't terribly interested in having more districts than one break across 99. As I've been with District 3, I've spent a lot of time crossing 99. And what I like about map 11 is that everybody gets to go to 99, right? And the reason I say that is there are sometimes challenges along 99 that I think would be best for everybody to have that opportunity to see, and hopefully address and work towards. Further, what I like about map 11 is that the lines are very, very clean. They're very understandable. They're easy to explain. They aren't, well, how come you've got this little peninsula going up to somewhere? It makes it very, very clean, and I like that. To address, concerns of the callers, I at first when I was looking at 21, when we were talking about it, the issue really is for me about displacement as well. I'm not a fan of not having a vote for a period of 6 years. So that's why, for me, map 11 is really, heads and shoulders above the rest. And agreed with the comments in terms of redrawing it just a bit in the growth area. And so, I'm happy to, I would hate to put everything into map 11 and then next time we come back and we don't have, an alternate, so I could go with the alternates as they've been proposed. So whatever it was, 11, 3, 4?
Just 11.
I was looking that way for the record, but no. But
Can we maybe narrow it to 2? Do you have, what's your second?
11 and 12.
11 and 12.
I
Okay.
like that, yep.
I can go with 11 and 12. I mean, like I said, right now, 11, if I had a vote today and I could be assured that it was like really good with, legal, et cetera, after the demographer, if we could do that tonight, hey, I could go for map 11 tonight, but, because I just think it's the best.
That's good. Vice Mayor Sun.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'll probably echo a lot of the comments that were said. I think, everybody on here knows we represent the entire city, regardless of what district we represent or live in. And to that end, all of us have crossed the 99, whether east to west or west to east. And so we face the same, conundrum of having these districts that can or divide us, if you will. And so I personally was looking at maps that did bring the districts closer together. Obviously, as Mr. Lindgren noted earlier, the disruption or the continuity of separating would prevent us from going all the way across. But the ones that bring us closer together, I think, is important. Voter separation or having voters change districts so they would potentially not be able to vote for 6 years. I think that was another factor that I strongly considered. And then, of course, the HOAs, separation of HOAs, of communities in that regard. So I think 11 is the GOAT map. We can name it the GOAT map, you know? It seems like everybody, at least so far.
Stephanie's map.
Yeah, the
Goat.
GOAT map, yeah. That seems to be the one.
Pygmy goats.
I mean, it has the most green, and you know, again, I'll echo Councilmember Nguyen's comments. I mean, Mr. Lindgren, you know, all the work that you've done on this is greatly appreciated. I mean, you've dissected it in you know, a very objective and professional manner, and it just allows for easy digesting for all of us lame persons here. But so it's nice that that's the most green. So I'd definitely be supportive of at least moving that forward for further consideration. I'm okay with moving. You know, I mean, I liked all four, and to some degree, I think it was 4 gave me concern about, again, the separation of districts. My District 1 would be cut off from the other 3, so in that regard, I had some concerns there. But in terms of, you know, we're not finalizing, but we're kind of narrowing down, I could support those 4, or, you know, the 3 that Councilmember Hume
He narrowed it to
mentioned.
2.
And he's narrowing it down to 2. But I would say, look, I mean, even 11, 12,
So would those be your top 2?
I won't die on the sword on this, but I mean, I think 11 and 12 and 3 moving ahead, and we could adjust. But I'm not dying on the sword on that. I'm just, my perspective is any of those 3 were fine. If the council's preference is only move 2, that's fine too. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Councilmember Spies.
I would think that the only extra work in evaluating a third one is on the demographer, right? So, I mean, while I appreciate your work, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
so if you want to move 3, I'm fine with it, but, you know.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we could adjust any of the 2 anyways to you know.
Sure.
So anyway, that's fine. If we want to stick with 2, I'm fine.
2 is probably easier to manage given our timelines and gives us opportunities for good discussions. You're good with 2 of them?
Well,
11 and 13 and
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine with 11 and 12, and then we
or
can.
11 and 12, sorry. Okay. And in the interest of consensus, those definitely stood out to me as well, 11 and 12. There are some good elements in 3 and 4, but those had the most green, and I think that worth, you know, is merit of consideration of all of the great elements in there. So I don't need to be repetitive. I think we've heard clear direction for the reasoning why, and you made it very easy for us doing that groundwork and coming up with a great system here, a grid system, and on how the evaluation process took place, even if it was a committee of 1. We trust your judgment there, and these maps have been in circulation. So I other than tonight's callers and then a few emails, I haven't had any, you know, red flags raised from constituents. And the benefit that I have is I get to see the whole city. My boundaries don't change. It's still the entire city of Elk Grove. So what I really do like about these maps is keeping our communities intact and the least amount of disruption. So I think you have some good direction there.
I do.
Strong
and
consensus here.
I would actually just ask for some, just a little bit of clarification. And part of it is the narrowing of the maps, I think, helps the process going forward. So
Yeah.
as I said, we're at a turning point. We're not out of the woods yet. There are still, as the maps come out, that's really when folks focus a lot of attention to the final products. And that's the hope, is that the committee of 1 actually isn't. It's published up onto our website. And so I welcome any and all comments from folks. You can log in, get to the website, and send in your comments about these items. What I would ask is that if we do narrow down to map 11 and 12 for the changes that were proposed by Councilmember Hume, so it's bringing that line down to Poppy Ridge Road, but it was also putting in the other new growth area, am I correct on this, that's west of that Bighorn extension, so that we're actually splitting the new growth area on the line of the Southeast Policy Area. What I'd
Could
like
that
to
come in
do-
as a third?
Yeah.
So that it's easier to,
That's almost what I was gonna suggest, is that we basically have an 11A and B
Yeah.
and a 12, but that
Yeah.
we actually give the demographer the ability to go in and dig in and find out how those numbers turn out.
okay.
Thank you. Exactly. That would be great. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Next item. Are we good? I'm going to move on. All right.
Indeed.
Next item, 9.1. Receive a presentation of the Elk Grove Police Department's 2021 annual report. Welcome, Chief Albright.
Well, thank you. All right, I think I did it.
All righty.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Tim Albright, your police chief, and for the very last time presenting, I'm certainly honored to do so, our Elk Grove Police Department 2021 annual report. So I sincerely thank you for that opportunity and the opportunity to serve in this capacity and serve this community for the last 17 years. So without further ado, our annual report is 44 pages long. And no, I will not spend time going through 44 slides. In fact, I am going to spend time on 8. And so I will move through that relatively quickly, stopping at a couple of points for some very important topics as I see. I did want to provide just a thank you to one of our staff members who worked so incredibly hard on this, and that's Katie Peak, who is our communications intelligence specialist working within our real-time information center right on the other side of this wall and is here tonight monitoring our meeting and just did a wonderful job with that. I will say that tomorrow our annual report will be up on our website and all of our social media platforms for public consumption. Certainly the council has that in your email box. We did have a little bit of a snafu with printing and we were not able to get that done to a satisfactory point today. So I will have a hard copy for all of you as well. So I just want to go through just a few of these slides. As we all know, 2020, the word we at the Elk Grove Police Department coalesced around was adaptive. I think really as a nation, we coalesced around that word that we need to be adaptive in everything we did. And as we entered 2021, it was a time for us to really understand that, being adaptive couldn't go on forever, but we needed to figure out new and novel ways to reconnect to our communities. As you know, our foundation is the connection that we have with our communities, and we wanted to find ways to do that and to reconnect, and we did just that, and I'm so proud of our staff for working through the challenges presented, but to connect in ways that were meaningful and that provided a voice for our community members. And so I want to jump into just a couple different areas within the organization and draw your attention to some numbers and the great work that's done. As you see here on the screen, we handled in patrol 81,800 calls. And it's not lost on me that this evening we have 2 of our patrol officers in the back of the room who are serving us this evening who are engaged in that level of service. And if my math is correct, that's about 225 calls per day. That's a lot of intake of calls that come into our communication center, a digestion of the information, getting that out to our patrol officers and getting them to our community members to serve their needs. And so 81,000 calls, an enormous number for our staff. I want to talk a little bit, as you all know, one of the complaints that we hear is that of traffic and how we address traffic within our city. And Mr. Werner and his staff and my staff work tirelessly on a 3-pronged approach. That is education for our community members, enforcement when that is appropriate, and engineering. So when we receive a complaint about speeding, about a light that perhaps is not operating, or we're seeing a lot of violations in that particular area, we employ that 3-prong approach. And really, one of our last efforts is that of enforcement. There's a lot of benefit to the education, but ahead of that, we have to ensure that the engineering is where it needs to be and there's no adjustments that need to be made. But with that said, last year, our staff, between our traffic unit and our patrol officers, wrote 5,500 tickets within the city of Elk Grove. Those were for those violations that we have seen. And in fact, I know you all know this. I know our community knows that. As we emerged from COVID, we saw a significant uptick and unfortunately really poor driving behavior, not just in Elk Grove, not just in Sacramento County, but across this nation. And in fact, I was on a recent call with police chiefs across the country, And that is true in Boston as it is in New York, as it is in Elk Grove. We're not quite sure why, but we are still employing that three-prong approach. So certainly proud of our staff in finding unique ways to affect change for our roadways to make our motoring public safer. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. This is our crime rates for 2021. And if you will recall, the last two presentations I have done on annual reports, I've demonstrated what has been a relatively flat crime, increase, decrease. It's been relatively flat over the past 2 years. And unfortunately, I'm here this evening to provide a little bit different of a story. And that is a 12% increase in violent crime in the city of Elk Grove and a 3% increase in property crime in the city of Elk Grove. But I want to talk about those in a little greater depth to provide some context. But I will say that our rape, robbery, and burglaries are all down. So there is some good news, excuse me, in those numbers. But I do want to talk about those increases. And we're not alone in Elk Grove with those. That is certainly we're seeing those numbers in far worse regionally and across the state of California. In fact, our numbers are, I hate to say, but somewhat proud that they're a little lower than they are in the rest of the state. And I think that's a testament to the great work that is done by our staff, the partnership with our community, and really affecting change and dealing with quality of life issues. But I do want to address that uptick in crime. And we can point to a number of different things that contribute to that. Certainly, as you all remember, aggravated assaults within the city of Elk Grove have long been a driver of our violent crime. Aggravated assaults for us is largely domestic violence, and that continues to be the lion's share of our aggravated assaults. Now, we have a robust approach to providing victim services, investigations, response from our officers, an in-house weave advocate, women escaping a violent environment, victim advocacy. We surround our victims of domestic violence in an attempt to really mitigate that from happening again in families. But nonetheless, those continue to occur. But I want to speak for a moment just to what I believe to be a little bit larger of an issue that's contributing to our uptick in Elk Grove, our uptick in the Sacramento County, and the uptick within the state of California. And that is some of the recidivism that we are seeing with the crimes that are occurring. And I want to provide you just a couple of examples to put that into context. And they're both very sad cases. The first one I want to provide is one that occurred in our Del Webb Glenbrook retirement community. If you'll remember, at the end of last year, we had a violent carjacking that occurred within the garage of one of our elderly residents there. She was knocked to the ground, her car was stolen. Our staff made quick work of that case and brought that individual into custody within hours. Unfortunately, that same individual committed that exact same crime of violent carjacking in the exact same neighborhood, on the exact same street, in the exact same manner, and at some point was let out to once again occupy our city and reoffend, creating another victim in his wake. And I want to pause for a moment to highlight this, that we have an excellent relationship with our district attorney. She is a great partner with us, and the attorneys that we deal with regularity are absolutely focused on the exact same thing we are, and that is the victims in this community. So they are doing their level best to affect that. I can promise you that, and we have a great relationship with them. But unfortunately, there are some laws in place that allow for that recidivism to really take hold, and was absolutely true in that case. We talked a couple of weeks ago, actually I think we talked last council meeting, at another case here where we had an unhoused member of Elk Grove who was attacked violently with a knife by another unhoused member, both living on the streets of Elk Grove. That resulted in one man's death. The individual that was arrested and is responsible for that crime is a recidivist, a violent recidivist. In fact, that same individual accosted another community member in our city of Elk Grove with a knife, chased him, threatened to kill him, and again was arrested by the great work of our staff, only to be released to reoffend and this time commit a homicide. And unfortunately, we see these crimes occur at the very top of the severity of crime and all the way down to the very bottom. And it's my belief, my firm belief, that that is a large contributor to the uptick that we are seeing. I want to tell you that we have incredible staff. By virtue of your generosity, you're seeing public safety as a priority in this city. We have incredible staff who are focused on addressing those issues and doing so well. We see it every single day, but they're limited with what they can do. They make the arrest, they write the report, but it's out of their control at that point. And I think that's a large part of what we are seeing in the uptick in crime. 2 weeks ago, I presented to you a staffing and efficiency study that we partnered with a consultant, Citygate, who recommended many things. In fact, 49 recommendations, many of which were program changes, some changes to how we do business, and also a recommendation for 27 additional employees to be added within the organization over a 5-year period. I have to tell you that in reviewing that report, it's 139 pages. I know you all had a chance to see that as well. It's robust and it's on point, and there are some excellent recommendations in there as it relates to programs, as it relates to where staffing should go and how that might affect our bottom line, driving down crime. I absolutely agree with the majority of that. I did include responses to each of their recommendations. But I recognize that with those recommendations, the program recommendations and the FTEs that were recommended, the 27, there's a cost. And that's not a light cost. That's a lot of money. That's not lost on me. I know it's not lost on any of you, but I believe it to be incredibly important. And until that pendulum, that law pendulum swings back to a good place, this organization, this city has to be innovative in our approach. One of the recommendations was a community prosecutor offered by the district attorney's office. A district attorney, a seasoned district attorney who lives here within the buildings and partners with our investigators and our patrol officers to take those cases that might not otherwise be tried to trial, to deal with those quality of life issues in a meaningful way where, frankly, they don't have the staff at the district attorney's office. That's an expensive endeavor, but it's an endeavor I think makes a difference to that bottom line and provides for a safer community for our community members. But I recognize again, with those programs and those additional bodies, that there is a cost to that. And while I would love to flip the switch tomorrow to make all of that happen, I also recognize that we are constrained by finances. We have to be fiscally responsible. And as we evaluate those on a year-to-year basis, and as we present those to all of you, we do that with that fiscal mindset at the forefront of our presentations. But I do believe that it's absolutely necessary for us to be innovative now, to combat these issues in a way that's unique, in a way that makes a difference until we see that pendulum swing. I want to talk briefly about our use of force data. We talk about what our staff is engaged in, and really we talk about the 81,000 calls that they have responded to this year. I wanted to put that into context as it relates to our arrests and the use of force data. So with those 81,000 calls, we made arrests in 1,757 cases. Now, some of those might be a call for domestic violence. It could be somebody who is detained for a shoplifting crime. But those resulted in 1,700 arrests. Of the 1,757 arrests, we used force in only 57 incidents, which is an incredibly low number. But I know, it's a testament to the professionalism of the staff that we hire, their recognition of the sanctity of life, and their understanding of de-escalation and the role that they play in that. I have to tell you, I have the opportunity, I know you see many of these emails from our community members highlighting the great work that our staff does on a daily basis. And I would say that I'm never surprised to see them, but I'm certainly gratified to receive them and to see and hear of the great work that they do. And this is just another example of that great work. Internal affairs complaints. Internal affairs are those complaints that originate both internal to the organization and an issue that we find internally that needs to be investigated, or an external complaint that comes in, and we investigate all of those. As you can see, we had a significant decrease from 2019 to 2020. We had 28 in 2019, 28 internal affairs cases in 2019. In 2020, we had less than half of that at 13. In 2021, we had half of that at 6. That's a 79% decrease in the complaints that come into the Elk Grove Police Department about our police officers, about our staff. Again, a testament to the professionalism of those individuals who are out there 24/7 serving this community with distinction, with empathy, and with pride. Coming in for a landing here, I do want to talk a little bit about our efforts toward the unhoused community. As Mr. Behrman said in his opening remarks, we did have the opportunity to double up on a couple of areas, both our mobile crisis support team and our homeless outreach team. These are officers whose sole responsibility is connecting our unhoused to services and addressing those challenges that are a part of the unhoused community. And there's a couple of things here that I want to draw your attention to. The 148, that's the number of camp cleanups that our staff, and I mean our staff, meaning the City of Elk Grove staff, along with our homeless outreach team, cleaned up in 21, 148 encampments. And then the shocking number, which is 58,000 pounds of trash that was cleaned up from those various encampments. I mean, if we pause to think about that for a moment, if my math is correct, that's about 26 tons of trash cleaned up from encampments within the City of Elk Grove. And people ask me with regularity, why does Elk Grove seem different than other areas as it relates to encampments? That's why. Because we have dedicated staff who are focused on making that as unsightly as possible, recognizing the challenges to our community from a blight and a health perspective. 900 plus contacts between our homeless outreach team, our 2 officers who are fantastic, and those who are unhoused. Each one of those contacts is about getting them services to get them out of homelessness. What do you need? How can we plug you into services? How can we get you a driver's license? How can we get you what you need to get to a better place? And then this year, as you've heard, our OWL, which is a cooperative to provide for the warming centers throughout the Elk Grove area. Certainly that's available for unhoused and those who perhaps don't have heat and need an opportunity, and our staff is involved with that. I want to touch just really quickly on some of the things that our problem-oriented policing unit has done this year. Just a couple of facts that I think are pretty incredible. Our Project Lifesaver, which is the program that helps return those who become lost, Alzheimer's and the like. We had a 40% increase of registration by virtue of their outreach. In 2021, we had 219 children who were in need and received toys from our holiday toy drive, thanks to this council, thanks to this community who generously donated for the less fortunate. 94 children received free bicycle helmets from our helmet giveaway. And then we etched and sketched, as you've probably heard, by virtue of the challenges with catalytic converters, 136 vehicles in partnership with one of our businesses in hopes of mitigating the thefts from occurring. And when they do, we have some evidence to hopefully provide to the district attorney's office. Another thing I wanted to mention, we did this year create our media and community engagement unit. And really, we carved off a piece of what problem-oriented policing was doing and have that unit focused on outreach to our community, connecting to parts of our community that we've never connected to before. He is still in the building. He's hiding in the back. But Sergeant Jason Jimenez runs that program. And the work that he and his staff do to connect with our community, and especially, as I said, in 2021, when we were about reconnection, but still having to be adaptive in that, they did amazing work and connected in ways that I know you all follow us on social media. In fact, today we had Bobas and Badges, which is boba tea along with our officers, a way to connect to that younger generation and have good organic conversations. And as Sergeant Jimenez expected, we saw just that, and it was a great turnout and a great opportunity for us. I want to close here with two quick things. One, our animal services folks just do an amazing job. You can see here the number of animals vaccinated. I'm not even sure how they're able to do that in 365 days in a year, but somehow they get it done. Still, through the pandemic, doing virtual adoptions. They have a live Facebook feed every Saturday that highlights the animals, a walk through the shelter. Really great work. But the thing that I think is really neat here, and you see it at the bottom there, that 60% of stray dogs, those dogs that are just wandering loose in neighborhoods, are reunited with their families. And you see, that's double the national average. And that's really because of the leadership of Sarah Humley and her group at the animal shelter who are focused on just that, the reunification of our four-legged friends with their two-legged friends, and they do an amazing job with that. And my last slide, I would be remiss if I didn't pause for just a moment. It's 5 weeks ago that we laid our hero to rest, and I just want to personally thank our city manager, Mr. Behrman, who walked beside me in that, our executive team who was there to support me in my time of need, this council who showed up again and again and again, my organization that came beside each other and came beside our community, and the community who showed up and continues to show up. I continue to receive cards and well wishes, and I know I speak for the organization. We're so humbled, we're so appreciative. We continue to be heartbroken, but we're healing. And I just want to take this opportunity to really thank you all for your support in that time, our time of need. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I did keep it relatively short today, and I do appreciate your time, and I'm available for questions should you have any.
Thank you, Chief Albright. At this time, I will go ahead and open up the public comment opportunity.
For our attendees in the Zoom environment, now would be the opportunity to use the raise hand feature for item 9.1 for public comment. As I'm looking over, we do not have any of our attendees in the audience in the chamber utilizing the speaker cards. So we don't have any speakers in the chamber. As I look back over at our Zoom attendees, I do not see the raised hand feature being utilized. That will conclude public comment for item 9.1.
All right, thank you. I'll close the public comment opportunity and open it up for council discussion. I'll start with Council Member Nguyen.
Thank you, Chief. It's your last presentation to us. I'm kind of went by real quick there, even though you said you were a little long. I feel like I could have listened to you for hours. Thank you for your leadership in this department. As everybody knows here, my husband works for the department, and I have to tell you that he's got some great things to say about you, and was very fortunate to be able to work under your leadership. And when I came on, I had the opportunity to work with Chief Noblet, and he was wonderful, and I've really enjoyed working alongside with you as well too. We're definitely going to miss you. The report, I felt that it definitely reflected what we're seeing all across the nation. It definitely is something that I've seen in other cities and in other jurisdictions as well too. But what I'm most proud about is just all the positive things that we continue to do, and all the positive things that the department and the team continues to display in the community. And while we're going through these 2 years of a pandemic, our department and our officers continue to put on that happy face and continue to serve the community in such a way in which you wouldn't know what they were going through at the same time too. And so thank you for the report. I know this doesn't mean that we're not going to see you anymore, because I think we're going to be able to see more of you, actually, is what I'm hoping, right? Is that what you said? Yeah, exactly. See, you're not going anywhere. You're coming back for something, I'm sure you are. Thank you. I have no questions.
Councilmember Spies.
Let's see. So I have three things. Hopefully I remember them. First, these are all obviously mostly good measures, with the exception of the increase in violent crime and the small increase in property crime. But what I want you to know, and what I hope everyone in the police department knows, is that my most important measure is when I go out and I have conversations with people, with very, very little exception, Everyone is always speaking very highly of the Elk Grove Police Department, very highly of the leadership that we have in the police department. And so for me, again, all good numbers, right? But the most important measurement is the satisfaction that I hear because they have that expectation of Elk Grove PD excellence. And so that's the one thing. The second thing was, and I think I might be putting pieces together where they aren't, but if we're talking about an increase in violent crime and we're talking about an increase in aggravated assault primarily, and aggravated assault being mostly comprised of domestic violence issues, are those, and so you're seeing a lot of recidivism relative to domestic violence? I guess what I'm trying to do is to kind of piece them together, and it could be a very false assumption.
Yeah, so thank you, that's a good question. So we continue to see domestic violence occur regardless of the prosecution. I can tell you that domestic violence is prosecuted with regularity, but we continue to see that, as do other jurisdictions, as just the leading crime as it relates to aggravated assault. So I don't know that we're seeing necessarily an increase in that, but that's the large driver of our aggravated assault numbers.
Right, okay. And then, the third thing is, sad to see you go. I'm really, I'm thrilled for you that, you're gonna go on and do whatever. When you say see more of you, I really hope that we're just talking about seeing you around more often. You're not gonna become a bikini model or anything. That's no? Okay, all right. Yeah. But I guess my last thing is, and I'll try to make this as quick as possible, I often make a comparison of law enforcement to military, and thank God they're really not the same thing, right? Because in the military, you're taking out a particular target, right? And your job, I believe, is even more difficult because your job is to make sure that your officers get home safe at the end of the day, and that the public that you serve gets home safe at the end of the day. So it's a much wider responsibility and a much more difficult responsibility. And so with that, being a chief I've never been one, so I can't say that it's difficult. I can only say from what I've seen, it is a very difficult job. But I think you've done it very, very well. And again, we're proud of you, and we'll see you around.
Councilmember Hume?
All right. I was just happy I didn't have to lead off, so thank you, Councilmember Nguyen, for doing that. Relative to the report, first of all, I want to commend you for a professional report that just really lays out some very important numbers and very concise. I've not looked at the full thing because I just saw the email come in. Relative to what you're talking about to recidivism, I think the pendulum is starting to swing, so that's the good news. Is I think society is waking up a little bit and realizing that if you don't want to see smash and grabs, if you don't want to see shoplifting with impunity, if you don't want to have to leave a note on your car window that says, hey, just take a peek, there's nothing in here, but don't break my window, right? If you accept that lawlessness is not acceptable, then that pendulum will swing back. And what breaks my heart is that it's not the fault of the men and women who suit up and show up. They want to do their jobs, but there's no system that then provides that consequence and holds accountable. And my God, we're taught as kids, if you do the same thing and expect different results, that's crazy. And so we are talking about not recognizing that past behavior is an indicator of the future behavior. So I hope that pendulum swings back, and I really hope for society's sake that we recognize that it needs to. But I want to slightly correct you on something that you said relative to funding the police department and providing you the resources. You said thanks to our generosity, and it's not our generosity at all. All we're doing is we're our conduits, expending the people's money and prioritizing it to what they consider is important. And that's the one thing that I will say is even at the height of the craziness that has happened over the last 2 years and some of the protesting and some of the things that have gone on with defund the police and different movements, when I speak to people, they want more visibility. They want more enforcement. They want more protection. And ideologically, from where I sit, providing for the common defense is the number one objective of government. And so, I'm just here to say that I think that report that you gave at the last council meeting hit on some great items. I had an opportunity to speak to someone from the district attorney's office. She is a former community prosecutor. She happens to be a Chief Davis fan. She is eager and willing to come to Elk Grove and be a community prosecutor. So that is a step that I think if we can do anything that says we will hold you to a higher standard in Elk Grove, period, that's a good thing to do. And then augment it with the mental health clinicians and the homeless outreach folks that are, trying to do a better job at what's an untenable situation there. And then the last thing, I just want to say relative to the animal services, that was a tough lift to get council approval, to see that move forward. And the numbers you put up, and just to see that 1,300 animals are living a comfortable life in a loving home at this point, and that twice the national average of stray dogs have been returned. That makes it worth it to me. And then the last thing I'd like to say, and I say this without any insensitivity to the final slide that you put up on your program, but I just want to congratulate you for being able to call in a final 10-7 and walk off the job and go home and lay down your shield and kiss your wife hello.
Thank you, Councilmember Hume. Vice Mayor Sun.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a tough act to follow, Councilmember Hume. That was very well put. So I'm going to go ahead and mess it all up right now. But and thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to dote on the chief some more. Congratulations on completing your years of service. We talked about, you heard all of us talk about the job you're doing, and I just want to, emphasize that a bit more. The reason why you're hearing clamor for more officers on the street, more visibility, is because your leadership, the men and women in this department, continuously do the job right. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going to say enforcement, because I don't think law enforcement is the appropriate term. From the slides that you presented, the data that you showed us, you are really conducting community care. The enforcement that you do when you have to, but you even demonstrated the use of force is at a minimum. The levels of complaints when you have the force is at a minimum. As Councilmember Hume referenced, the animal shelter, twice the percentage of returned pets to them. The way your team, and we've interacted with some of your team as well in dealing with our unhoused population out there, it's done in a compassionate manner. In fact, a lot of your officers go out of the way to use their own money to go and buy food and to just to give them a little bit of a small meal for folks out there. So that humanity that's in this department is really unique. And I always say that I really feel like what we have here in Elk Grove is an example for the nation. The way this department conducts itself and it interacts and it engages with the community, that relationship, that trust that's been built all this time, I think is a really unique thing that we have here in this nation. You should be very proud of it. And I feel so lucky and fortunate to, be on the council during this time. And just a nod to, you're the third police chief I've had the opportunity to serve, and Lehner and Oblit before you. But that tradition, and I have every confidence that, Chief Bobby Davis is going to uphold that. But that is, I don't even call it, I guess I call it luck, but, I would like to think also that, we've, as an entire city, not just this council, but Jason, the city manager, and yourself and the involvement that you have to make sure that leadership, those traditions continue on. The Chiefs Advisory Board, didn't start with you, but you continued it forward. And so those types of things, I think, continue to make sure this department stands out. So, again, I want to commend you for that, and just appreciate all the things that you've done for the community. And best of luck on your next adventure.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you to my council colleagues. Beautiful comments. Gosh, so many tough acts to follow, but I'll try to keep this unique to myself here as much as I can. Starting off with, Elk Grove loves our police department, and that is so evident, not only with the love and dedication you all show to our community by building these opportunities to connect. I've had the privilege of going to a lot of these, didn't go to today's since we started early here. But that's how you build bridges. And that is something unique and special here. And it's something that even Congresswoman Matsui, during her tour of Elk Grove, noticed, that our love and admiration and respect for our police department. That is something that, not only we should be proud of, but to the extent that we can share that as a model for other cities. But I know that doesn't happen by accident. And I know you're aware of that and so many others, that it starts from us that sit here, of understanding and knowing the priorities, that public safety is one of our #1 priorities that was validated through the survey results that we saw earlier this evening, and that it remains that top priority, but because we also reinforce that and believe in that and support those visions. And to the extent that, you brought up the cost as it relates to the staffing inefficiency studies, the cost of doing nothing also has a cost. The cost of doing nothing. So while it does have dollars associated with it, we can't just sit here knowing what we know and do nothing. So that's something that I look forward to working with my colleagues and staff as we develop some ideas moving forward. But I'm most intrigued, of course, with the community prosecutor program. And I too have spoken with a number of folks with the district attorney's office. There's a lot of interest there to see that come to fruition. The dignity that our officers show for our unhomed population, it is quite remarkable. I've done a number of ride-alongs, and will continue to do some more the remainder of this year. I learn a lot. I learn a lot from those ride-alongs. I learn about the passion, the hopes and dreams and values of our officers, but it's also a learning opportunity for me to see how can we be more supportive? How can we be more helpful? What I thought was quite remarkable in your presentation is the complaints at a 6-year low. That is something to celebrate. That is huge. What a tremendous accomplishment. A 6-year low. I doubt very many cities could say that. That is outstanding. And that is because of the hard work right here of our men and women in uniform with great leadership. So Chief Davis, you have big shoes to fill. And I have no doubt that you will rise to that occasion. It's what I shared with Chief Albright during the farewell for Chief Noblet when I had an opportunity to come to his farewell party. We have a dynamic police department with excellent leadership, and it has been a joy serving with you, seeing how involved, how engaged you are in the community, how much love and of humanity that you display. And it was tested on those dark days when we lost one of our own. That's where we see true leaders rise. And to provide that comfort, the shoulder to cry on, but also to show hope and brighter days ahead. That takes a lot because you put your own mourning aside to help others. And I can only imagine what it was like for you during those dark hours. But thank you for being there for all of us in those darkest of days. That we thank you, we celebrate you, we congratulate you, and we look forward to your next chapter. We know this is just the beginning. So thank you for all that you do for all of us. Chief Albright.
Hey,
Hope I
well,
did.
can I say just one
Absolutely,
thing?
please, sir.
I was short on that part, and I promise not to go long here. This is really unique to have this level of cooperation and collaboration with the council, and you all have, each individually and collectively, have been so supportive of not just me, but the organization and the work that we do. And it's not lost on me that, that my peers don't all have that. And I appreciate that. I know that takes effort, that we would coalesce around the same ideas of providing something really special for this community. And you all have certainly played a vital role in that, and I sincerely thank you. I just want to close with one recommendation that came from Citygate that I disagreed with. And that was that we lack a succession plan. And while we might lack a formal who is in line, what trainings, what leadership, I think we're there, but here's what we do have as it relates to succession plan. And much to many of your points is that we have incredible, well-oriented, passionate, empathetic leaders waiting in the wings, one of which is here today, one of which that the city manager made a very wise decision on to lead this organization. I've had Chief Davis by my side for the last 2 years in navigating these waters, and he is as ready as anybody and will do far better than I could ever do. And that's a succession plan. That's having somebody ready, that is willing and is wanting so bad to continue to lead this great organization and serve this community. So we have a succession plan, and it's right back there in the back room. And I can't wait to see the work that he does and for you all to experience the passion that is a part of his walk. And I thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for that. With that, we will move on to our next item, and if I'm not mistaken, it's item number 10. Since we've
Correct.
skipped
Council
around a lot
comments,
here.
reports, and future agenda items.
All right, excellent. I'll start with Councilmember Nguyen.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Spies.
Just real quick, Sacramento Metropolitan Television Cable Commission, I think I got that right, SMCTC, has begun the process of looking for a new executive director. And that is all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hume.
Nothing to report.
Vice Mayor Sun.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report, but I wanted to bring up Councilmember Hume's mention about a homeless ad hoc. And I know, Mr. Hobbs, you're talking about bringing it back. I wanted to actually retract myself from that because I'm pretty
Okay.
busy right now. But I
No
don't
problem.
know if- I don't know.
It'll come back and the council can decide, but that's fine.
Oh,
We can-
okay.
Yeah, we
All right.
haven't, well, you haven't made any determinations on it yet. It'll come back and yeah, you can certainly withdraw from that if you like.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll wait
no
till
problem.
then. Thank you.
Was that it? Yeah. Okay.
Gives me that was it.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I also had a question regarding the homeless task force, so that'll be coming in the next meeting. Okay, very
Is it
good.
next meeting? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Tomorrow, just another reminder, we have our town hall meeting to get an update on the zoo project. So we encourage everybody watching that's here to please stay tuned, participate, and it's just the beginning of many other opportunities to engage. And then I think that is the town hall reminder was it. So I want to thank everyone. We got our first in-person meeting in the books and some little glitches for the online platform, but other than that, I think it went really well. So thank you, everyone. Be safe. And with that, we will adjourn at 8:46.